up, RotoGrinders? 2 hours plus of MLB DFS conversation. It starts right now. I say the plus because we're going all the way up to, first pitch is 7:20. Assuming the questions keep on coming in, I guess crunch time will stick around, but we'll see how that works out. They jump on at around 6:15 or so. You got Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood. Will's coming in, the Chief, as well as TJ Zwarych, one of the greatest DFS players in all of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. He'll be holding it down from the host position. Roth is still in parts unknown. Actually, he said he's going to be in parts unknown, and then he tweeted he's like in Paris. We've heard of Paris. We know he outed himself. He was playing basketball in Paris, and he took some pictures with some guys. Like, I just schooled these dudes. I don't know if you guys saw that. It's Taylor Smith. It's Keith Eister. Keith, did you see this picture? And also, you think Roth told the guys, they just, smile, say cheese. I'm gonna embarrass you on my Twitter account, and I have like 50,000 Twitter followers. So I'm gonna tell everybody I just dunked on y'all. Smile. Did you see this picture by chance?
I did not see it yet, so I'll have to go check it out. I'm unaware of what Ross' whereabouts currently.
Maybe producer Steve can throw that up on the screen. I'm just saying, like, if he schooled these guys, he embarrassed them allegedly, according to his tweets. I wasn't there. I don't know. We just got to take Ross' word for it, Taylor. But and then he's just like, yeah, look, these are the dudes that these are the chumps. I ran it up on him. Roth always talks about big game as far as his basketball.
I was going to say, it's very unusual for Roth to brag about being good at basketball, so I'm not sure if I believe that or not. Maybe it was lost in translation, Maybe he said, I just schooled you, please post my photo. And they were like, sure, I don't know what you said, but yeah, let's do it.
Here it is. Yeah, see, he's like, Roth's laughing at him. The guy's like, yeah, peace. Friendly, game, pickup game here. And clearly it's Paris because, the dead giveaway, there's the tower in the backdrop, unless he's in Vegas, but that wouldn't work either because there'd be other stuff around it. But Roth having himself a good time. Is he wearing a cardigan, by the way? What did he play basketball? What is he wearing? Is that, maybe it's a hoodie. It's possible he's just wearing a hoodie, but Roth is not.
It's a
not with us
zip.
today. Is that what it is? A quarter zip. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Even still, would you play basketball?
No, you would not.
Quarter zip?
Not. Absolutely.
Yeah,
not.
definitely not.
It must be especially cold over there in Paris these days. I have no idea, but probably pretty early in the morning as well. But weather-wise, by the way, speaking of weather, don't really have much going on. The mystery weather person for us is let us know that it's just winds blowing out in Kansas City. Otherwise, precipitation should be a non-issue. We'll talk about the slate in just a second. It's a 14-gamer. No, there's 14 teams, 14 pitchers throwing baseball. It's just a 7-gamer, pretty small, and clear and obvious stuff as well. And pitching is a little bit tricky because it's all sorts of different versions of dicey. But San Diego and Coors, we were just throwing a bit of a wrench with Machado not being in that lineup. Somewhat surprising they started left on left Cronenworth as well. But San Diego is still going to be especially popular. But I'm just curious. We got time. We got plenty of time. Let's say hello to chat. What's up, chat? Hit that like button. Do you subscribe? Turn on those notifications. Do all those things. We appreciate all that to keep the lights on. But I was curious if you guys start of the playoffs, both hockey and basketball. And I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but the basketball kind of stunk this weekend. Just watching the games, it wasn't very good. I think it's going to get better, but it was bad. I'm not just saying that because I'm a Heat fan. I know it. They're a lame duck. It's over. Just put them out of their misery. Let's go 4 and out. It's fine. We've had a good run. Taylor, who's your team? Do you have a Texas team? Do you have a California team? Who's your team?
I am from Houston, so I do go by a Ross fan, I guess. So I don't really have a dog in the hunt this time or in any of the last few years, but kind of casually. My wife's a Laker fan, so. But it's kind of against my religion to be a Laker bandwagoner, so I do root for their demise against her will.
Does she know this? do you actively root against her, in her face?
I'm not covert. I am not covert about that. Yeah, it's quite.
You're fist pumping as Joker's dunking on him. Yeah, it's. I don't like. Yeah. I proposed that the Lakers should have tried to lose the play-in so they can get OKC in the first round. And some people thought I was just as a fun little conversation, a hypothetical. Don't really do that, but they would have been better off playing OKC. Still probably going to lose, but all right. Keith, your takeaway as far as the basketball, do you care about the hockey? I know you're in Arizona. You lost your hockey. You're very upset. They're going to Utah, but I don't think you care. Feel free to speak.
No, don't care much for hockey. I don't follow the regular season at all. The playoffs get fun. Playoff hockey is definitely very watchable, but I don't follow it super closely. Once it gets down to the finals, I'll certainly check it out. But yeah, basketball, I agree. Kind of boring. Lots of blowouts or at least like 10, 15-point games, and all the favorites won. So hopefully we get a little bit more exciting here as we continue on.
Yeah, it's going to get better. It's going to be a lot of fun for sure. But yeah, Steve says in chat, that's a super hot take. The playoff ball was excellent. Was it though? Like, I don't.
It was not.
Okay. Is that today's whole question?
It was okay at the end there last night.
Yeah, Oklahoma City, New Orleans was decent, but that's about it last night.
Which is better? They're talking about hockey being better. Which is a better product as a general thought? Hockey playoff or NBA playoff? Is that today's poll question? Maybe it is. Maybe producer Steve will throw it up there for the people. I would say hockey definitely takes the biggest leap of like wherever it's at. It takes a bigger leap from regular season to the playoffs. I chose to watch. They're doing the South Florida market no favors. The Marlins, the Heat. The Marlins are not stiff in the playoffs anytime soon. Still thinking of baseball. But the Heat and the Panthers are playing at the same time, and I watch the Panthers because it's a real team that has a real chance to go places. And the Heat, it's over. And also, basketball, the best team is going to win a 7-game series 90% of the time if there's any sort of gap in talent. All right. Which playoffs are more exciting, hockey or NBA? Ooh, man, I don't like now the way it's phrased like that. I think it's probably, oh man, I'm going to abstain to see what the people vote for right now. What's the official answer here, Taylor?
I
which
think
are more exciting?
Like you said, like the lack of parity in NBA, I think kind of tips the scales in favor of hockey a little bit. Like 8s beat 1s all the time and that kind of thing, which doesn't really happen in the NBA. So I'm not a hockey guy either, but I still would lean probably NHL.
We just lost Steve's like. I don't know if you can take back a like. I think there's no take backs to my understanding. Maybe you can. I'm not sure how that works, but I'll just look. I want the basketball to be good. No, it just wasn't good. I'm sorry, it wasn't good. Maybe the baseball is going to be good tonight. We have a Coors game. One of the most popular pitchers is throwing baseball's in Coors tonight. It's just 7 games. It's pretty clear and obvious. Like San Diego's the best offense, and then Atlanta's the next best offense. You can kind of put them in the same tier. We didn't build tiers today, but we'll talk about stacks later on. Pitching is, I guess Dylan Cease, if he gets to throw 115 balls in Coors, he should get there even if he gives them a couple runs, I suppose. But yeah, Keith, give me the slate overview before we're going to dig in and talk about some pitchers. What are you seeing?
Yeah, 2 very obvious offenses. I don't generally like to play chalky bats, but it's hard to deny the spots that the Padres and the Braves are in. 2 very average or below lefties that they're facing. Bad bullpens as well behind them. So just elite offenses. The Padres have been surprisingly good this season, even after trading away Juan Soto. They're top 10 in a lot of offensive metrics. The Braves are at the top of the league again. So 2 very good offenses, 2 great matchups. Hard to get away from that chalk on offense. So that likely means I need to do some weird things with my pitchers. Dylan Cease chalk is never fun. Put him in Coors Field and it gets even less fun. So we'll break that down, but certainly that Rockies offense doesn't pose much of a threat. The ballpark helps, but I still prefer Cease in the matchup, obviously. Just 40+% ownership on a pitcher in Coors doesn't sound like fun. I think you can get a little weird with pitchers, though. You have a minimum price pitcher who went 5 1/3 or 5 2/3 scoreless innings after coming over from KBO last year, Albert Suarez. So that's an interesting dynamic, particularly on DK. I think it's way more viable there, but it's not like he's unowned either. I'm probably going to end up living in the mid-range. I think there's some upside there. We'll talk about the strikeouts for Kikuchi, the maybe hidden potential for Brandon Pfaadt and guys like that. But I'm going to try to go off the board a little bit at pitcher because I think the bats are pretty clear and obvious.
All right. Taylor, your thoughts here as far as the screenshot of the slate? By the way, I'm being told by TJ in chat that I don't understand the like button. I guess you can take away your like, so maybe I should watch myself next time. So I guess that's the thing that happens, I suppose. But All right, Taylor. Yeah, your screen. What are you running out today, Taylor? You like a MME guy? You got to run like 150. You're running 20. You're running 2, like a single entry stuff, or what is the angle today?
I'm doing some of the single entry stuff. Like DK has that promo going on with the leaderboard stuff.
222. Yeah.
Playing a couple of those, and then some of the 20 max, and then I have a few in that lottery, the $3 150 max, but not maxing that out or anything. Just for fun, Dean.
Yeah, for funsies, sure, why not? You kind of know you're just playing you could build like the goofiest of lineups in there, just gonna have fun there, and you're probably gonna lose. Like you're gonna hit some of them, but you're probably not gonna fully recuperate your entry fee unless you bank it, of course. What about the slate though, as an overview? It's kind of, and it's baseball, right? You can play anybody in baseball. We can have that argument, as we progress in the show. But what is your plan of attack? Because we saw Luis Castillo was really good in Coors, but I don't think Dylan Cease is as good as Luis Castillo. We know this Colorado lineup's not very good, obviously, but Cease does have the highest projection. He's going to be 43% owned according to our ownership stuff as of right now, as of like 15, 20 minutes ago. Then it's Reed Detmers against the Baltimore offense. I think we all kind of agree there's some, threatening bats there. Chris Paddock is really uncomfortable with the White Sox. I did a kind of a deep dive on the White Sox before the show, and they were worse than I thought they were, which is that's a bold statement because I thought they were really bad. They've been shut out in 33% of their games. I know it's just a small sample.
That's phenomenal.
7 times they've been shut out this season, which is just insane. Their total runs scored, they're averaging like 2.2 runs per game. Any offensive category you can think of, homers or WRC plus or OPS or anything, they're dead last. They're 30th. It's just 21 games, but I don't know if it's getting any better. Yeah, Derek says deep dive. The White Sox, they suck. Yeah, I could have saved myself some time, but yeah. But don't worry, Tommy Pham might get called up at some point, and it's going to change everything. It did sign Tommy Pham. So maybe that's a big turnaround for the White Sox. But yeah, well, what are we seeing here? I don't think Paddock is great either, by the way, for the record. Like once upon a time, he was a bit of a prospect there for San Diego. He had a nice run, but I'm not totally in on it. But, are you throwing baseballs against the White Sox? Yes. Well, I guess you're in my pool. Yeah, Taylor, what do you got as far as this slate? Give me the overview.
Yeah, it's all really uncomfortable once you get past San Diego. And even that, without Machado, it's not the best lineup they could have run out there tonight. So that even might be kind of, questionable chalk that you may not feel great about. It is the best offense on the slate still, just because it's Coors and, the matchup's fine with Austin Gomber. So, yeah, it's pretty gross. It's really easy to go directly against some of the chalk, even though you're going to hate the way your lineups look. Things like the Angels against Albert Suarez, if he's chalky, the White Sox against Chris Paddock. Chris Paddock is not, like you said, really a guy we should be afraid of. It's just really gross to stack the White Sox, but Martin Maldonado is out of the lineup, so maybe it's a little more palatable than it otherwise would have been. Yeah, Orioles against Detmers. The chalk's very easy to identify. It's kind of if you go against it, either you're going to win it all or you're going to lose it all. And that's kind of how most nights go anyway, I guess. So why not embrace the variance of one night and see what we can do?
We got all the lineups except for the 2 late games. No Baltimore lineup just yet. No Angels lineup just yet. No Giants and no Mets. But we did get the Padres. We talked about that before the show. Bogarts, Tatis, Cronenworth, cleanup hitter, Jurgensen Profar. Kim is batting 5th. Campusano, Rosario, Merrill, and Ozakar. This is really not the vaunted San Diego Padres. It looks so much worse with Machado out, doesn't it? Obviously, Soto's gone too, and I'm still kind of getting used to that, I suppose. But yeah, the top half is going to be pretty popular for sure. It's not that hard to get them in. The White Sox lineup. They're talking about the 3 lefties. And Nicky Lopez leading off. He's annoying, actually, because he doesn't strike out. Like, I don't like facing Nicky Lopez. He'll just, pesky, I guess is the word they would use, right? He'll ground out or pop up. Grossman, Jimenez, Sheets, Vaughn, DeYoung, Fletcher, Mendick, and Corey Lee. It's rough times there in Chicago. Yeah. So how do we feel? I'll throw this one to you, Taylor. And I want to bounce back and forth as far as FanDuel because somebody's asking a FanDuel specific question, and I thought it was worth addressing. Let's just unreleased lo-fi. Tell me about Suarez. Talk about Suarez on FanDuel, and I think you kind of touched on this actually, Keith. He feels much safer, or much, I don't know if safe's the right word, but just more palatable as an SP2 on DK, as opposed to the one pitcher you're going to run out on FanDuel. They're asking about Suarez versus Paddock. Similar price. Paddock's got, I think, probably the better play, but I don't love either one. I don't know how necessary either one is, to be honest. You have a take on that?
Was that me? Sorry.
Oh, Keith. Keith. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, just being your only pitcher, upside, I would say, is limited at pitcher today anyway. So it's more viable on this slate than it otherwise typically would be. But Suarez had a below average strikeout rate over in Korea. I don't expect him to have a ton of upside here. There's a chance, I suppose, he could get through 6 innings and get you the quality start, but I don't think that's the most likely outcome. He did throw 5 2/3 in his last start. The win is probably likely. I don't know. Detmers is certainly the stronger pitcher in the matchup, but the Orioles are the better team. The quality start and the win points are so valuable on FanDuel, and then the fact that you only get to play one pitcher. I don't love playing a pitcher with limited upside in that scenario. But it is viable on the slate just because I don't love the upside throughout the entire pitcher pool, really.
All right, Taylor, let's talk about the entire pitcher pool. Let's jump back over to DK. It's going to total up to 200%. Obviously, you got to roster 2 of these guys, 2 of these 14. Ownership-wise, again, we have Dylan Cease, number 1 most popular owned guy on DK at 43%. Detmers at 31, Paddock at 21, Lance Lynn at 18%. We got to count the lefties for Arizona. I think it was 3, maybe it's 4, right? Pretty vulnerable to lefties. Jock Jams looks pretty good. Peterson. How many lefties do we have there? Yeah, Marte leading off is a switch hitter. Carroll's a lefty. Peterson's a lefty. Jake McCarthy is a lefty. He's a very bad lefty, but he is a lefty. He'll be standing in the batter's box on the left, well, I guess the right side, if you want to get all technical, if you're looking at the all right. So Lance Lynn, never really a fun roster. I like to, roster him when I'm desperate, and I'm kind of sort of somewhat desperate. So he's probably in the pool. 18%, Kikuchi at 16%. Some Ks there. I think his K rate's jumped this season, if I'm not mistaken. I've not pulled up the plate IQ just yet, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. Wind blowing out, not great for him.
33% for Kikuchi this year.
Is it real? Are you buying that, or is that small sample stuff?
I think it's mostly small sample. He's kind of been trending in this direction for a couple of years now. He saw a spike, 2 years ago? When he first came over, he was more like league average, around 24%. A couple of years ago, since he's been with Toronto, he has seen a spike. So I think it's somewhat real. I think he's more of a upper 20s strikeout rate at this point rather than 33%. I'm not buying 33%, but I do think he's well above average.
You got a take on that, Taylor?
I don't really totally buy it. He's always been a little bit above average in that regard, but the control has always been kind of wonky. He's been pretty homer prone in the past too, so it's kind of it's priced accordingly. He's 8-2 on DK, so we're getting a discount here. Matchup's not very good. I guess it's technically a park upgrade for him. I don't really buy this 33% strikeout thing, though. I think that's almost certainly going to come down. I'm going to be pretty under the field on him tonight, I think, just because I feel better about Detmers in that range. I will have more Lance Lynn, unfortunately. I'm just kind of playing the ownership there. And the lack of lefties, though, for Arizona does make me feel a little better. I feel like they were a lot more lefty-heavy last season. And this year, it's still a good lineup, but Lynn, I'm just kind of hoping can turn in 5 to 6 innings and not get completely destroyed.
He probably gives up a solo homer to one of those guys, Marte or Jock or something.
Marte to lead off the game, definitely going to happen, and then uphill battle. And
he's gonna scream obscenities in his glove. I don't know if Lance Lynn. He's who's the guy? Who's the GIF? Was it John Lackey? I think it's the John Lackey GIF. Yeah, okay. Yeah, maybe producer Steve can find that. The John Lackey upset of giving up a home run ball, a yell in his glove. I don't know if we can throw it up on the screen. Maybe we can't. I'm not sure. But the Kikuchi thing, if you're going to say it's not real. And 11.7% swinging strike rate.
Yeah,
I
I was
mean,
going to put that out.
That feels
tracks
like an
more
outlier.
Yeah, that tracks more with like his 24% K rate than like 28, 29%. So definitely some concerning stuff underneath the hood.
Yeah, I don't know what the exact number is, but kind of like in my head, swinging strike rate is, it's like you double it and add like a little bit of a pinch. So like if it's like 12% swinging strike rate, K should be like 26%. Is that about right, Keith? I don't. Is there an exact formula? Is like 2.1x?
2.15, I believe, is the multiplier.
Nailed it. So there it is. So yeah. So I didn't know that was the official number, but that's kind of what I thought it was. Peter's saying, wait, no, not Peter. Let's see. They're saying, is FanDuel wrong again? They're showing Grayson Rodriguez. I don't think he's. Did I miss something? He's not throwing baseballs tonight, is he?
No. It's Suarez, isn't it? I haven't seen anything about Grayson Rodriguez today.
Well, they have a track record. They were wrong the other day. Remember, they were saying it was Freddie Peralta, and it wasn't. I mean, no, they said it wasn't Freddie Peralta. It was like DL Hall or something like that. As a general rule of thumb, do not use the sites for your most up-to-date information. As a general, that's Twitter is going to be your friend. The RG app's going to be your friend. It's Movie Monday. And thank you for letting us know in the chats. What is Movie Monday? Keith, that was the first thing he said when he's super excited. Big fan of the Movie Monday. Taylor, this is your first time. Feel free to play along. Do not give the official, don't ruin it. Don't spoil for the people. But, feel free to submit your answers in the private chat by all means. What is Movie Monday? Well, I give out 5 words, 5 clues, one at a time. And each time you can guess what movie we're talking about based upon those clues. Where do you submit those answers? In the RotoGrinders Discord, of course, rotogrinders.com/Discord, and go into the live stream chat channel. And after the first word is released, you only have 1 guess per word. No spamming the chat. If you were the first person to guess the movie correctly, you get yourself a week free of RotoGrinders Premium. Yes, Tim in chat is trolling me, saying finally the first clue. I'm going to give you the first clue, and it's probably not going to help you. I don't. There's no hole-in-ones anymore. I'm tired of people guessing it in one, ruining the game. But the first clue happens to be Apple. Apple is the first clue. The first clue is Apple. By all means, fire off the answer into the Discord channel. FanDuel apparently, according to several people, they have Grayson Rodriguez. Which they're saying that Suarez might be super low owned, but Suarez he's probably not going to be heavily owned on FanDuel just because you don't really need him. What is his current ownership over there? I don't think he's projected to be heavily owned either. More so on DK. Where do we have Suarez? Yeah, we got him at 5%. TJ with a good guess. Bad teacher with Cameron Diaz. That's not, but that is, I like where your brain is going with that one. But it is not. Oh, Goodwill Hunting is another great guess too, but it's not Goodwill Hunting. I'm not going to make it that easy. How do you like them apples? All right, back to pitchers, Taylor, and producer Steve will let me know, and I'll jump over there in a second. If anybody happens to bink it, I will tilt on air because I do not want him to be binking it. I want the game to keep going. It is not Jobs. That is another good guess, though. All right, Taylor, how are we attacking these pitchers? You kind of touched on playing the ownership game. That means you're going to have less Cease, I suppose, and less Detmers and more. Well, we have Suarez at 15. I feel like that might come a little bit higher as we close it on lock. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think he's going to be pretty chalky on DK just because, the mid-range is pretty underwhelming. There's nothing really at the top. So, and obviously with Atlanta and Coors and stuff, there's plenty to pay for. So, yeah, I think he'll be more chalky than that. I'm not really going to be getting to him a lot, which is a little scary, I think, because he might be, I don't think he's legitimately an ace or anything like that, but he's probably better than a 4K pitcher. Matchup obviously is pretty good against the Angels. So I'm just kind of living in the Cease Detmers thing. Like I'm eating that and then Lance Lynn a little bit, like I said. It's pretty gross. I don't mind Brandon Fodder at 8K on DK. St. Louis, not a very high-powered lineup. It's kind of, they're a bunch of old men in the middle of that lineup. At the bottom, it's pretty grim for them. So Fott, in theory, was supposed to be a pretty good prospect. I still think there's a chance he can turn into something, of course. So I don't mind taking shots on him and hoping for the best on this slate.
Yeah, that's kind of where I think he's playable as well, and like he's not like way worse than the other guys we're going to be talking about. You saw the Angels lineup pop up on the screen. This is who we're going to get our 4K picture facing on. We got Chenal leading off, Trout, Ward, Sano, Moniak is DHing, Joe Adell, a lot of strikeouts there, a lot of power too, a Hoppy, Adrianza, and Neto. So I think this is probably better.
No Taylor Ward? Did you say
No.
Ward?
Ward is third. Did
Oh,
I
yeah.
not say Ward?
I don't know.
Yeah, Chenal, Trout, Ward, Sano, Moniak, Adell, Ohapi, Adrianza, and Neto. But that's who Albert Suarez will be facing. I feel like Adell is again, there's some power there, obviously. And speaking of former prospects, Uber prospect, the power is legit. When he hits it, he doesn't always hit it. But, probably a slight bump for his K ability. And really, he's 4K. You're just hoping to get 12 points or whatever. Anything more than that, is icing on top. We also got, let's see, we got the Mets, right? Yeah, we got the Mets, Nemo, Marte, Lindor, Alonso, Beatty, Stewart, McNeil, Bader, and Navarez. They did lose their top catcher is out for 6 weeks or so. Francisco Alvarez.
Yep.
I got there. It took me a second for some reason. I couldn't quite remember his name, but a hit to that offense for sure. And of course, the ballpark shift. Well, I guess they play in a crap ballpark as is in New York from an offensive perspective. But tough to hit baseballs in San Fran. But when the polar bear gets a hold of it, doesn't matter. It's going to go out of any ballpark. We did get an update, by the way, as far as ownership at 525. So let's see if we got anything different. I'm hitting the refresh on the old lineup HQ. See if anything kind of shuffled up on us. Looking at the pitchers first. Just as like a Brady Singer shouldn't be 4%. Just sort of throwing that out there. Like that, he should be higher. I think you're supposed to be higher than that. I'm not saying he's great, but why can't he be the top pitcher in the slate? I think he definitely can be. Anybody got a thought on Brady Singer?
Price and matchup is the issue there for me. Toronto doesn't strike out all that much. Singer's right around league average with his strikeouts. So, it's kind of what I was speaking to open the show. I just don't see a ton of upside at pitcher. So why do I want to go all the way to the top of the salary range? That's my argument against it. I definitely I hear your case for the ownership game as well. I mean, he certainly could be the top scoring pitcher on the slate, but I think I'm going to try to save a little bit and live in the mid range rather than going up to the top. I'll be if he does come in at 4%, I'll probably be slightly over that with 10 or 15%, but he's not going to be a large portion of my pitcher exposure by any means.
He's kind of living on
that, Taylor?
Yeah, I don't really see why he's the most expensive pitcher on the slate. He's not historically a good strikeout guy, really. He's faced the White Sox twice, and he had that monster start against Minnesota, one of the higher strikeout teams in the league. So I think his numbers are a little bit inflated to this point. I think this is probably the toughest matchup he's had. He faced Houston, which is kind of boom or bust at the moment. But yeah, he'd be more interesting if he was 8K, but he's 9.2, and I just don't really see the point in spending all the way up for him tonight.
Fair enough. Yeah, the only case I'm making is the ownership, and I don't think he's much worse. He's kind of similar to some of those guys, and I don't think Toronto is as good as their name suggests. I think they're fine, but I don't want to throw out the word gutless, but I think they were on the gutless power rankings last Friday. I don't know if you guys read Dave Potts, the musings today, in the most polite way possible. He was basically, anybody that says that, he's like, yeah, the Padres aren't really gutless. They're actually pretty good. I know we like to call the Padres gutless. That was more so last year. I think it kind of a carryover to the Padres being kind of disappointing. 14 pitchers here, Taylor. Who are we just Xing out? We're just not rostering them. Stop me when you're going to be playing this guy. Austin Gomber. Stop me when you're playing this guy. Austin Gomber. Ryan Weathers. Cannon. Cannon.
Just because Minnesota can strike out quite a bit, I suppose you can make an argument at 6K for him, but he's not really a guy that's going to be racking up the Ks for them. It looks like.
Make your first 50 lineups. Does he make your first 50 lineups?
Probably not, even on this slate.
Yeah, and Keith, not your first 20, I'm guessing. No Cannon for you?
No Cannon for me.
Yeah. Minnesota is one of those teams, though, where I think it's, pertinent. I don't know if pertinent's the right word, but I think an interesting thought, just every single day, be over them offensively, be over them as far as whoever's facing them pitcher-wise, and just rooting for extremes because they got some power, but they also will strike out a ton. This lineup specifically today against righties dating back to last season, Kirilov, 22.8%, Julian, 31.4%, Larnick, 31.5%, Jeffers, 27.4%. There's no Buxton in this lineup, but the first 4 guys that at minimum strike out 22%. A lot of Ks in there. You got Castro in there, more contact heavy in the back end. Not that Cannon suggests or projects to be a guy that can get a lot of strikeouts, but and then you see the ISO and the WOBA, it's all popping, it's all green. So it's just like they can smash the ball, but they also can strike out a ton too. So I feel Minnesota just kind of feels like that team. I don't want like the Hunter Green offense, I guess, if you will, if you want to kind of label them that way. Do we like this take, Keek? Do we not like this take? Is it a bad take?
Who was that? Sorry, I was looking up some stuff.
Well, what were you looking up? Anything interesting? Anything you want to share?
A pitcher that we're getting to. I wanted to make sure that I had my stats straight when we get to him here in just a second, because I don't think anybody's playing him. But okay. Cannon is who we were talking about.
I was just talking about the concept of being over on the pitcher versus Minnesota and being over on Minnesota, like on the same slate, and as a general thought, based upon, a lot of power, a lot of strikeouts.
Yeah, that's certainly fair. And we don't really know what Jonathan Cannon is. One major league start. Just he wasn't a huge prospect either. He was pretty good his first time around, but no idea really what he is. So I certainly think Minnesota has upside, but the strikeouts in the lineup are certainly worth attacking as well. So I don't hate the idea. I do have a guy that I prefer down in this range a little bit more. That's not Zwarych.
Oh, this makes sense. Machado's on paternity leave, as is Bryce Harper. Both those guys are on paternity leave. Both of them. I don't know. Coincidence? Probably just a coincidence. Probably not much else there.
What are you implying, Dean?
I don't. I'm just saying it's a coincidence. I don't know. I'm sure Twitter will come up with some great ideas as to why that happened. So he's not even going to be available to pinch hit, which I think is worth noting. We did get a Baltimore lineup as well. Henderson, Rushman, Westberg, Santander, Urias, Mullins, McCann, Kauser, Mateo. So no Mountcastle and no Ryan O'Hearn. Okay. Taylor, did you have go ahead.
Austin Hayes also out of that lineup. Yeah,
some lefties that are lurking. Isn't Reed Detmers a reverse splits lefty? I guess they don't care about reverse splits in Baltimore. Who's their advanced analytics guy? I'm pretty certain that Detmers has reverse splitsy as a lefty. Somebody feel free to confirm or deny.
I believe that's correct.
Yeah, well, they don't care. They see R, and that's it. All the L's got to sit. Okay, so we have all the lineups with the exception of, I believe, San Fran. Love it. Okay, we also got the Orlando Magic, who, they're not obligated to release their lineup until a half hour before the game, and they're like, you know what? We'll give it you an hour and a half, because that's how nice they are, the Magic. They're just happy to be here. They're just happy to be playing playoffs. All right, is Isaac starting again? He's a really good play for DFS, just kind of throwing it out there. I know it's a baseball show. Yeah, played 28 minutes the other day, did not combust. He survived it. I think it was 28 and change or something like that. But they need his defense for sure. All right, back to baseball. Keith, what were you looking up? Who's the pitcher you want to talk about?
I don't really want to talk about him. Jose Quintana, I think, is interesting.
I knew it.
The ballpark is great. And for whatever reason, I have been waiting for this home run rate to regress for 3 seasons now. Ever since he went to St. Louis, he has just stopped giving up home runs. Add in the ballpark out there in San Francisco, which suppresses home runs anyway. He's been over 100 pitches a couple of times already in his starts this season. I don't think 7 innings and 4 or 5 strikeouts is out of the question. And with a lack of upside in the pitchers on the slate, I am probably going to be rostering some Jose Quintana. Very reluctantly, not a guy that I hardly ever play. But slate context, I think it's viable on the slate.
So homer on the fly ball, if you're not staring at it, take a guess what his homer on the fly ball rate is dating back to last season, 96 innings. I have this year's as well, but got a bigger sample, 96 innings. What do you think his homer on the fly ball rate is?
I just looked it up, so this one's on Taylor.
Taylor. We're leading the witness here. Keith kind of led you.
I mean, it's got to be high, 12, 13.
No. The opposite.
Much high. Oh,
No, it's going to be low. He doesn't give up homers because he's lucky the ball dies in the warning.
Oh, he's
track.
expecting. Oh, okay, I see. So 5%.
Yeah, 6.6% homer on the fly ball, 0.65 homers per 9 as well. Yeah, is that now that also leads to the other question is like, is that a skill? Is that luck? Because we have like general numbers. And who was it Marco Gonzalez? Who was the guy like really, really good at getting like infield pop-ups? Is that the guy I sort of think of when I think of infield pop-ups? Do we believe, is that a
Martin
skill?
Perez is a name that comes to mind that can kind of do that too. Generating soft contact and infield fly balls, I think it definitely is a skill. Like his career before that, he had normal home run to fly ball rates, like right around 10%. If you average out his first 7-8 years in his career, and then all of a sudden, just the last 3 years, like a switch flipped, and he has been well below league average from a home run to fly ball perspective. So it is clearly something that he's doing on purpose, in my opinion. Now that we've seen it for 3 years, I mean, after the first season that he did it, it's like, oh, well, that home run rate is regressing. He's going to start giving up a ton of home runs really soon. Now that we're 2.5 years into it, almost, I just believe that it's a skill that he now has.
Dating back to last season, he's got Cannon and Suarez don't count, right? So dating back, I'm going to say they don't count because we're talking about 5 innings. And now we're talking to 12 guys. Jose Quintana has got the lowest ERA, 3.46. We don't talk a lot of ERA, but 3.46 ERA. Who's next, by the way, if you're curious? Kikuchi at 3.66. The Sierra, though, for Quintana is almost a run and a half higher at 4.77. Not a lot of Ks, 18.5%. The walk's a little bit too high there at 8.5%. But yeah, if he keeps the ball in the ballpark, and he probably does in San Fran, okay. I mean, I don't want to roster him. Just you kind of give a half-hearted sales pitch there, Keith. But DK is forcing me to roster 2 of these guys. I got to pick 2. If I don't pick 2, they won't accept my submission of my lineup. I guess Quintana is playable. Taylor, have you sold on him? Because you kind of knew that's where he was going.
Yeah, I kind of am. I was just looking because I guess I'm used to the Giants thinking historically they're not a really high strikeout team, but this year they kind of are against lefties. Slater, Soler, Conforto, Murphy, Estrada, Fitzgerald, all in the projected lineup, all red on plate IQ as far as strikeouts go against lefties since last season. As a whole lineup, it's 24.7%, which is kind of enough to get me interested. And like you said, the ballpark, I think Friday was when the Giants hit their first home run of the season. They just do not ever hit home runs anymore. And yeah, I'm kind of on board now, which is upsetting because it's Jose Quintana. But I think on this slate, that kind of thing is viable. I think Keith makes good points there.
Daryl George asks, who's pitching for Atlanta? Well, it's going to be Bryce Elder, and he's not very good, but he's facing the Marlins. I don't know. Is Bryce Elder somebody that's in anybody's pool today? I get, yeah. I'm hearing radio silence.
Very similar to Quintana in that he could suppress runs today, but the strikeout upside isn't there, and he's almost 1,000 more than Quintana. So just give me Quintana.
Yeah. I mean, you could argue he's got a better chance of getting a win if you want to make that argument. Those win points can make up the difference, but you never really know if that's going to happen. The win points aren't really a make it or break it kind of thing. But the argument, I guess, is just Marlins, right? Marlins are bad. They're without Burger Time. Pretty rough lineup there for Miami. Arise is annoying, of course, because 3.8% strikeouts dating back to last season versus righties. 521 plate appearances. 3.8% strikeouts. That is amazing. Dude just never strikes out. Doesn't walk either. The ball will be put in play. 4.4% walk rate. You could strike out Jazz and De La Cruz, but Elder obviously not this great. K guy, 17.7% Ks dating back to last season. Taylor, nothing on Elder. Didn't seem like you're terribly excited about it.
No, I mentioned Fott, or I think I'd rather go in that range, or Paddock, unfortunately. Keaton Wynn was someone I was just looking into because I was getting to a little bit of him at 7K flat. Strikeouts aren't really a thing. Ground balls are a thing with him. The Mets lineup's not very ground ball heavy though. Like Marte and Beatty are the only ones with above average ground ball rates since the beginning of 2023. So I am getting to win kind of as a lower owned dart throw type thing. Certainly not a cornerstone. But as far as win against Elder, I might as well just take the 500 and play win instead.
Great name for a pitcher, though. Just as like a side note, Keaton Wynn, right? Like he's
like the opposite of James Outman.
or Homer Bailey is what I was going with. But yeah, just never really. I'm still upset that Blaze Alexander is not very fast. Like he's not slow, but he's not like he's not Blaze. Asking in the chat about was Elder set down to the minors. I don't know if he was. I don't know if he did like the Grandpa Simpson gif where he's kind of in the door, out the door, and coming back. I'm not really sure. But far as I know, Elder is throwing baseballs tonight for Atlanta. All the lineups are in with the exception of Sam Fran. We should get that at some point. If not us, Crunch Down will be getting it. Let's go ahead and give the people clue number 2. They're very anxious. Clue number 2 for today's movie day. Clue number 1, of course, the word was apple. And again, if you tell me what movie this is, one guess in the Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord into the live stream chat channel. Clue number 1, apple. Clue number 2 is brick. So apple and brick. Those are our first 2 clues. We'll get 3 more if we need them as we close in on Crunch Time. Crunch Time coming in about a half hour or so. TJ will be manning the Crunch Time. He threw out Marco Estrada was the guy I was thinking of. Yeah, prime Marco Estrada was the guy who had that incredible skill of just getting all these infield fly balls. Like, look at all the fly balls, but they're all in the infield. Why are we not getting homers picking on Marco Estrada? Because the fence is not up in the air above third base. Okay. Give me the summary as far as arms, Keith. Somebody is they just jumped on. They tuned in like 3 minutes ago. They might have missed everything. Give me the summary. How are we approaching arms on this slate?
Yeah, so Dylan Cease is probably going to be the most popular pitcher. It's a good matchup against a bad Colorado lineup, but Coors Field is a factor there. The ownership for me is just a little bit too rich, so I will be under the field on Dylan Cease. I'm going to be under the field on Reed Detmers as well. We didn't talk about him much, but I like the Baltimore lineup against lefties a good amount. There's certainly strikeout upside there. I think there's some risk he gives up some power today, so underweight on Detmers as well. Kikuchi, not sure I buy the strikeouts, but I'm going to be chasing it a little bit. He's always a boom bust type of pitcher. The KC bats have been hot. Obviously, I will be playing plenty of them as well, especially guys like Bobby Witt and Sal Perez are in a really good spot today with the amount of fly balls that Kikuchi gives up. But I'm chasing strikeouts there. Brandon Pfaadt is the pitcher that I'm most overweight on the entire slate. Some of his underlying stuff looks really good. His Sierra, like his ERA is over 5, almost 5.5. The Sierra is down at like 3.9 though. So he's getting a little bit unlucky this year. He was a massive strikeout guy coming up the minors as well. It has not translated to the majors so far, but I think there's some sneaky strikeout upside in there. The St. Louis lineup has been just awful to start the season. They're bottom 5 in WRC plus to start the season. So I like the upside for Pfaadt as much as anyone on the slate, point per dollar. Paddock, I don't love the ownership on him. Strikeouts haven't been there. Great matchup against the White Sox. But I'll fade the ownership a little bit. Go down to somebody like Jose Quintana. I just think he can have a deep outing. He's been over 100 pitches multiple times. Don't love the strikeout upside there, but maybe a little bit of a boost there against the San Francisco lineup. Taylor talked about their strikeouts a little bit. And then Albert Suarez at minimum price. Like, it's nothing to be excited about, but he's a 4K guy who could throw 5 or 6 innings. So I'll certainly have some.
I do like the clues that are being submitted in the live stream chat. Shallow Hal, American Pie, Sutter House Rules, Da Vinci Code, Snow White, Home Alone 2, I believe, when I ran this game by producer Devin. There goes I knew my camera was getting lost on me.
Dean just disappeared. It's almost like he fell off his chair or something.
No, my camera just dropped. I will get it. Maybe I'll throw it to one of you guys in just a second, but my camera did just drop and we'll be back. But Taylor, feel free to give your summary while I fix my camera over here, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot more to add. I mean, this is like the first time I can ever remember a pitcher in Coors being like mega chalk. Usually it's kind of like, this guy looks okay. It's the Rockies. He's underpriced. It's Coors. You can play him a little bit, but a guy coming in at 40 to 50% is a little jarring to see. but kind of just an indictment on the other pitchers on the slate. So I get it. I'll kind of be playing both sides of it. I think I'm just going to be kind of playing both sides of everyone on this slate, which is, kind of more viable, a smaller slate like this, I think. Detmers, I think the projection did update for that Baltimore lineup. He looks pretty much the same way he did before. I do think the absence of Mountcastle might make him look a little bit better. Low strikeout, power hitting right-handed hitter that's not in the lineup tonight. So I'm probably going to be a little more over the field on Detmers than I will be on Cease. Yeah, I like the Fott call too. I'm more into Quintana than I was before. Not getting to as much Suarez as I kind of want to. I might boost him a little bit just because it kind of makes me nervous to be so under the field on a 4K guy on a Coors Atlanta Braves type slate. But it's kind of the nature of this gross pitching slate. And Paddock, I guess, is worth a shout too, just because the White Sox, he's 7-4 on DK. So I'll be looking his way tonight, unfortunately, as well.
We got the Giants. Slater is leading off. Flores, Lee, Soler, Chapman, Conforto, Estrada, Murphy, and Ahmed. So we got every single lineup. Steve's asking if the weather is good now. Weather, as far as precipitation, last I saw, there's no issues. I did think it was worth mentioning. Weather Edge is telling us the wind's blowing out in Kansas City. It's just a 17-game sample, but it kind of checks out with what we have, 70 degrees, 19-mile-per-hour winds, basically the dead center, left center. In 17 previous games of similar weather, we have seen a bump in runs at almost 14%, a bump in homers at 23%. So, and also, I'm not saying you can't play Kikuchi, but it doesn't really, but maybe that's just a couple extra feet difference. Is a fly ball dying on the warning track or going over the fence for that Kansas City side? All right, let's knock out clue number 3 for the people. Nobody's guessed it just yet, but I'd like some interesting names being thrown out there. Goodwill Hunting is a great guess, but it's not Goodwill Hunting. But people might, we'll see. I feel like this is par. I think somebody might, this is par. Somebody's going to get this, I believe, but we'll see. Apple is clue number 1. Clue number 2 is Brick. Clue number 3 is Trident. Trident is clue number 3. All right. And you know what? Taylor just baked it in the chats. Was that before I said clue number 3, or what did you type that in, Taylor?
No, actually, I was kind of thinking it after number 2. I was like, oh, I don't know about the first one, but the second one could be something. And then Trident put me over the top.
You
Taylor
know,
beat
I
me
asked
to
you
it. I had it too.
on.
And I'm not often one to get these.
Wow. So that means somebody's got to be getting it. It's not John Wick. And Gregorius the Wise just nailed it. It is, we'll play it out. We'll play it out for those that are not looking at the live stream chat just for funsies, but we'll give you clue number 4 and clue number 5 in a second. It is not Aquaman. I think that producer Devin was guessing Aquaman, which also was a really solid guess there. I see they're guessing Aquaman in the live stream chat as well, but shout out to Gregorius the Wise taking it down. You got yourself a week free of RotoGrinders Premium. By the way, if you didn't just win a week free of RG Premium, you can purchase it. There are 3 different ways you can do it. You can get yourself a 6-month combo for $469.99. That's a savings of $250 if you're, as opposed to like going month to month to month to month. If you just want 1 month, you can get your first month of RG Premium for $40 off for a limited time. And if you just want 3 days, get yourself a 3-day pass for $19.99. To be clear, it's not just baseball, football, basketball, hockey, PGA, MMA, all the sports, CSGO. I guess that's a sport for the purpose of the conversation, for the purpose of the pitch, for the purpose of the read. NASCAR is a la carte. You got to talk to Stevie about that one. You also get access to SimLabs, Dave Potts' article, the expert rankings, the expert survey. Too many bells, too many whistles to mention. The optimizer, all the goods. Feel free to check out the links in the subscription. Stacks. Who we stacking up today? We've kind of touched on it a couple times. San Diego, most popular stack on the board. Now there's no Machado. Lineup is a little bit goofy there in Coors, so probably a slight hit. But and I'm pulling up our consensus rankings. Myself and Keith and Squirrel Patrol and Head Chopper. We did our rankings earlier. We ranked 5 of our 5 favorite, 5 of the 14. And only 7 teams got listed. So we're pretty tight as far as consensus-wise. San Diego number 1 across the board. Atlanta number 2 across the board. With the Squirrels got them 4. Minnesota, the Angels, Arizona, San Fran, and Colorado. I'm the only one that did not put the Angels up there. That's interesting. And Keith, you were on an island. No, me and you are on an island with Arizona. You got them 3. I got them 4. But to talk about stacks, again, pretty clear. Of course, baseball, goofy stuff happens all the time. But it's pretty clear that San Diego, Atlanta kind of in their own tiers. And then beyond that, it's a big clump of like they're all kind of the same sort of. And then there's the White Sox. Nobody's playing them. But yeah, give me your thought process when it comes to your rankings, when it comes to stacks tonight.
Yeah, top tier is very clear for me. It's the Padres and the Braves. No Machado in the Padres lineup brings them closer together. It was San Diego slightly ahead of the Braves before. I have them pretty much even now. The Coors bump, the bad bullpens for both as well. Both the Rockies and the Marlins bullpens have been really bad. 2 below average starting pitchers and 2 really good offenses. Atlanta's been the best offense in baseball so far this season, as they were last season. And San Diego's been a top 10 offense. A slight downgrade from Machado, obviously. Arizona is the next team that I have there. Lance Lynn is giving up an astronomical amount of hard contact and barrels. A 16% barrel rate to begin the season. That's not good. I don't know where Corbin Carroll's power has disappeared to, but if he's going to get it, the shoulder injury really could be impacting him. So that's definitely worth noting. But Jock Peterson looks really good. You mentioned him early in the show. Kettle Marte, I like a good amount. They have some speed as well. Jake McCarthy, as another lefty in that lineup, has good speed. I just think that Lynn is very hittable at this point in his career. I think Arizona is a well above average offense as well. So I have them 3rd. Minnesota is certainly there with the matchup against the young pitcher for the White Sox. Boom bust type of offense. They strike out a lot, but there is some power there. No Buxton in that lineup is a slight ding for them as well. Let's see here. The Angels are where I'm going next, and that's really, it's Mike Trout is the guy that I want to play. I'll have some stacks though, just because of the ownership that Suarez is likely to garner. I think he's going to end up pretty popular as a punt on DK, especially. So stacking some Angels against him, I think, is a nice leverage point. Trout's one of my favorite hitters on the slate. It's not a great lineup beyond that, but Suarez was also a heavy ground ball guy over in Korea. So I definitely like fly ball hitters. Trout's the best fly ball hitter in baseball, or among them. Ward is up there as well with his fly ball rate. Let's see, Moniak in there. Just checking his fly ball rate looks really good. So I actually like that Moniak made the lineup. And then Logan O'Hoppe was awesome last year in his rookie season before he got hurt. And he's off to a really good start this year as well. So O'Hoppe at the catcher position, I really like. The Rockies are in Coors, so they're fine. Like you said, it gets pretty jumbled beyond the top 2 are really clear. I like Minnesota and Arizona probably in that next tier, and then it's a jumbled mess, and just kind of pick your favorite teams from there.
How does Adele, I know it's kind of a small sample, but I just looked at Adele, 64 at bats versus righties dating back to last season, Keith. His fly ball rate is 11%. His ground ball rate is 52%. That seems bad. Has nobody hit the ball in the air? Like, he's got all this power in the world, and like he's slamming it into the ground. I guess that's part of like they're trying to figure it out. But I just pulled it up. It was pretty alarming in the plate IQ. Yeah,
that's really alarming. He needs some launch angle classes for sure.
Yes, yeah. You mentioned Trout 36%, Ward 34%, popping in the green, Moniak as well 35%. No Rendon. Maybe he pinch hits later on in the game. Who knows? I'm just trying to think who might. That's why Chanel is leading off today. All right. So Taylor, what is your thoughts? Your plan of attack when it comes to stacks tonight?
Yeah, obviously San Diego and Atlanta at the top, kind of not even close to anyone else in a tier of their own. Otherwise, I do think targeting some of these chalky, underwhelming pitchers is a viable route tonight, just because the chalky, viable pitchers are not very good. The Angels, I think, is a good call, certainly against Suarez. Both sides of the Toronto KC game are interesting, I think. Blue Jays being gutless does affect me a little bit. I do prefer the Kansas City side. Kikuchi, this season the lineup's been very low strikeout against lefties. Take that with a grain of salt, I guess, but decent power here. Garcia and Witt at the top of the lineup, Sal Perez, Velasquez, Renfroe. There's kind of a lot of right-handed power that he's going to have to navigate here. And like we said, the wind is blowing out in this game. So it is a decent hitting environment. Certainly not Coors, but might be the next best thing on this slate.
Yeah.
Brady Singer on the other side, I mentioned not really being super high on him. I think his numbers are a bit inflated by the matchups he's had. On paper, the Blue Jays have good numbers against righties dating back to last season, even if it doesn't feel like they should.
When does it happen? Is like I never once on my roster when like, oh wow, good job, go Blue
There was
Jays.
that 1 year, like 5 years ago, when they had like Teoscar and all those guys where they hit 8 home runs every night, and they were the Braves. And now
Batista,
yeah, and now
Joey Bats.
It's a new reality for them. But going back to the well tonight, just because beyond the first tier, there's not a lot of clarity. Like you said, it's a big jumbled mess after that. St. Louis, I guess, just if you want to go against Fod, I don't love that, but that's kind of how the slate is. I am unfortunately getting to some White Sox just because Paddock is pretty much a total question mark at this point. He's been hurt a lot the last several years. Results have not been good this season. He has faced tough teams, Dodgers, Orioles, and I think the Brewers he's faced so far. So this is by far his easiest matchup, and maybe he's just due for some regression. But just the nature of the slate, the White Sox are cheap. Eloy Jimenez is probably the best hitter in the lineup left. He's only 3.5. I think if you want to do a mini White Sox stack and otherwise, stack a chalky Braves or Padres, I don't think that's the dumbest thing you can do on this slate. I don't think there are really a lot of dumb things you can do on this slate, honestly.
I was going to ask that. Also, I see producer Devin in chat touting the White Sox as well. And like for sure, I would lean doing that and like the lotto stuff, right? The large field stuff. If you're playing single entry, they don't seem very necessary unless you want to do like a little mini stack. But a couple of questions. Are you talking like 5-man or like mini White Sox? I know you mentioned minis. And the other thing is like Lopez leading off. You click only in stacks. Like you don't really want, I like a player that can do it in one event. And I guess theoretically he has the ability to hit the ball over the fence. Like it's happened before. There's video footage to confirm this, I believe. But, you can't assume it's going to happen again. How do you handle that? Because Grossman's another guy, like just no more power at this point. I don't know if you're making lineups like just only in stacks for Lopez. I think like he's not the a la carte guy. Yeah,
he might be like more like a cashy play because he's 2-1 and leading off and second base. But I think in tournaments, definitely only in stacks. A mini of Jimenez, Sheets, and Vaughn doesn't look horrific to me relative to how the White Sox normally are. Even Grossman, I think, just because he's hitting second and he's 2.8, like I'm willing to do that. That's really it, though. Lopez, just to round out the stack as the first guy in the lineup, I think is fine. High contact guy, like you said. Maybe he steals a base or something. He's no longer on the Braves, so he can't hit home runs like he did last year, but. Yeah, I think we can. I think you can stack them tonight, just because it's 7 games. It's gross out there, and they're cheap.
Bugsy says Lance Lynn gave up 48 home runs last year. Where are they this year? Well, he's given up 1.74 homers per 9 this year. That's not good either. Like that's also like not good. And he's 12.9% homer to fly ball. He's been protected and giving up a lot of fly balls. You guys talk about the Cardinals. I was on Sirius with Cards over the weekend, and he's fully tilted about his Cardinals, as he should be, because like the rookies are not, the young guys are not getting better. The old guys are old. Is there anybody on the Cardinals in their prime right now? Like one player currently in their prime? Maybe Contreras, I guess. That's the best argument you can give. But everybody else is either too old and on the back end, or they're just too young and they're not going to get there just yet, or have not really showed the signs just yet. But yeah, it's rough as far as being a Cardinals fan.
Wasn't he doing a thing where he was taking the opponent money line late in games, or they had a tight lead or something, and he's making thousands of dollars on that? So at least he has that.
Betting on the ineptitude of the bullpen. Yeah, we talked about that as well. I don't think that scenario is played. So like basically it's kind of sort of an emotional hedge for him because he still like actively watches the game and roots for his team, which is like kind of wild in 2024. Well, no, I shouldn't be like that. But I'm kind of broken and I'm like a robot now. Like I just care about, I'm a Heat fan, but I don't care if the Heat lose because whatever, they're gonna lose anyway. But like, my fandom has gone away over the years. I'm not sure if that's just me. I feel like that's some people, but like Keith, when you're a Cubs fan, but if you can win $1,000 for a Cubs L, there's 162 games. It's worth $1,000, right? Like, is this as a transaction?
It is. Yes, I actively watch the Cubs every single game of the season. But if I can make money on their loss, I'm okay with that.
Plus, in baseball, they're going to lose like 60 times a year, and they can still be elite. So there's, you can play it both ways.
Butto is saying that Lars Newbar is going to dong tonight. We didn't give out the dongs. Yeah, I don't know if we have enough likes, but do it that like. But I know Spidey's in the bullpen hanging out with TJ. You got Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood, come about 15 minutes or so, as well as Will. Going to be probably dropping the bidet of the day. We probably have some. Did we write anything up today? Either one of you guys for scores and odds. Keith, you got any plays baseball wise, basketball wise that have not yet tipped off or have not yet had a first pitch? Anything for you from a betting perspective?
I did not write anything up today because I was on Top Stacks and had a bunch of other content, so didn't get to any bets. It's kind of just a tough slate for pitcher props, which is generally my bread and butter. I don't really have much today. Brandon Pfaadt is somebody who I feel like there's potential for the strikeouts to show up. I just don't feel confident enough betting it yet until we see it. Just looking at his minor league numbers, the stuff should translate. It just hasn't quite yet. And he's been below average on the strikeouts in his career, but his prop is sitting at 5.5 with solid plus money on it. You can even find a 4.5 out there. That's over at FanDuel. It's heavily juiced, of course, but Pfaadt's strikeouts is one I considered. I did not pull the trigger on that one though.
I think I'm going to bet Austin Slater under on strikeouts, under a half a strikeout. That he doesn't strike out. Plus 160 against Quintana, who doesn't strike anybody out really as is, just that soft contact. And once he leaves the game, once Quintana's out, pretty decent chance Slater's gone. You might only get 2 or 3 at-bats out of Slater at the leadoff spot. And we're getting plus 160 on no strikeouts. That is my bet that I'm looking at right now. Taylor, if you like that, if you don't like that, by all means, share. Do you have a bet for the people or for yourself?
I do not. I did not do any content like that today. So sadly, not much to add on the betting front tonight.
We did get the answer to Movie Monday. I see people talking about it in chat. Clue number 1 was Apple. Clue number 2 was Brick. Clue number 3 was Trident. That escalated quickly. Clue number 4 is Whale. I can't add any more context. You either know the scene or you don't. And clue number 5 is Teleprompter, which we did not give Whale or Teleprompter. I'll give the people a second or so to kind of figure out and get there if they haven't quite got there just yet. But Apple, Brick, Trident, Whale, Teleprompter. It is Anchorman. Anchorman was the answer. So again, congratulations to Gregorius the Wise. We do this every single Monday. Give away a week free of RG Premium. And by the way, for the deep thinkers out there, why did we pick Anchorman today? Because San Diego's chalk. Yeah. There's always a reason. There's always a reason why. And Devin thanking me for holding my tongue there. Yeah, it's a good thing Chop wasn't on this show. I would just say that. He probably wouldn't be able to help himself. About 10 minutes or so until we hand it off to crunch time. Let's give some homers to the people. I think we have enough likes to at least fire off one apiece. Keith, you want to start us off for some homers?
Yeah, I got a couple. I'm going to go Jock Peterson to start. Lance Lynn's hard contact numbers are really ugly. 16% barrels. I think Jock gets one. And then I'm going way off the board with the second one. Mickey Moniak jumping into the Angels lineup. I really like the fly ball numbers. I mentioned Suarez had good ground ball numbers over in Korea. Not sure that's going to be able to translate to the majors, but I like the fly balls that I'm seeing from Moniak.
Trying to see him pulling up the odds and scores and odds for both those guys. I like the Peterson call, but I think it's going to be reasonably popular. But what number would we bet that at, Keith? 4-1, would we take that?
I like 4-1. Yeah,
I'm just making that number up.
No, I think that's pretty. I think it'll probably be like plus 350. But if it's 4-1, I'd take it.
That's what I'm guessing. I want to get the 4-1, but I feel like we probably don't have it Yeah, best we got is 3-1. It looks like. Yeesh, gross. I guess DK, they're aware of Lance Lynn and his issues with lefties. Yeah, 290 over there at DK, according to Scores and Odds. Taylor, you got a homer for the people?
I'll go off the board a little bit. Danny Jansen, I don't mind hitting kind of toward the bottom of the Blue Jays lineup, but fly ball hitter, barrel rate up around 10% against righties since the start of last season. Singer's kind of a ground ball guy that's historically better against righties, but I think he's probably facing pretty long odds to hit home run tonight, and maybe shouldn't. I think he's a decent kind of flyer if you want a long shot there.
Danny Jansen, let's see. You can get him at plus 450 at BetMGM, plus 425 at DK. I wish the odds were a little better. I like the call, but
kind of surprising.
I want to get paid off a little bit more on that. Chat, by all means, fire off who you think is going to homer. Any questions you have, any stacks we didn't talk about you want us to talk about, happy to do so. But again, about 5-10 minutes till we get to we got Will coming in, we got TJ coming in, we got Spidey coming in, of course, Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood, also coming in. They're asking about the Marlins in chat, which I don't think is the worst idea, but it's kind of a mini for me. I like Jazz a little bit. It's kind of an a la carte piece. Keith, where are you at as far as the Marlins? If we're going to rank all 14 offenses, are they around 10 or so? Where are they at for you?
Yeah, they're down towards the bottom. You definitely want lefties against Elder. So I like your Jazz call a lot. I don't mind Josh Bell. It's just they're not a fun offense to stack. There's not a ton of power there. De La Cruz has been solid, but like I said, I want lefties against Elder. He has pretty extreme splits. So it would be a mini for me as well. Jazz and Josh Bell would be certainly two. And I don't mind Jesus Sanchez as well. Arai is just not a guy, unless you're full stacking, that you can even really play because he's more than likely not going to hit a home run. He doesn't steal bases. He'll get on base quite a bit, but he needs help to get there.
Plus 500 as far as Jazz right now, currently in BetMGM, plus 475 DK according to Scores and Odds. That's actually pretty good.
Did Tim Anderson just completely get monstered? What happened there? Was he hurt a lot? I have no idea what happened with him. I feel like 2 years ago he was a superstar, and now he's the worst hitter in the league. It is quite the drop for him.
He had that walk-off homer in the Field of Dreams game. Yeah. Ever since then, I don't know if that's the point. He went into the he's hanging out with James Earl Jones, and it's gotten rough since then. He was injured last year, and of course the ballpark in Miami really stinks, but he's still kind of young, right? I think he's only 31, maybe 30. I don't think he shouldn't be completely done, but he might be completely done.
Maybe it was just White Sox malaise. They just were so beaten down that he just stopped caring and stopped trying, and
Ozuna. Do we talk enough about Atlanta?
Probably not.
Atlanta's great. Ozuna keeps smashing baseballs, and that's a guy I pulled a reverse Tim Anderson. He was almost cut from Atlanta. There was rumors that he was going to be gone. He just hitting terribly at the plate, and then he just turned it around last 2 or 3 months into the year last year, and he's not slowed down since. Just been spectacular. Ozuna has been great. I see Kirkwood saying Renfro dong there called from Kirkwood, but what are we doing with Atlanta? They're the pivot from San Diego, but they're the obvious pivot. They're going to get some ownership. I guess the left on left Olsen conversation's worth having. Don't be afraid of playing Olsen is the bottom line. Of course, play some Olsen in your stacks there against Weathers. But what are your thoughts there, Taylor, when it comes to Atlanta? They're on the board for you for sure, right?
Yeah, it's nice to have Duvall in there at 3.6, cheap power hitter. I don't mind him as a home run call, by the way. I assume his odds are probably shorter than we'd like, but he looks decent. Yeah, I think so. He's played for Atlanta 3 times, but I guess he did play for the Marlins at one point.
Yes.
Orlando Arcia hitting second is okay, just because no Albies and gets a little boost there. The obvious guys are obvious, though. I don't have a ton to add on them. Darno hitting homers every night, it seems. So
that's got to slow down.
You would think, but you never know.
I like the Soler call from Victor in chat. If somebody's going to get the Quintana, I think it's most likely to be Soler. But we talked about how his ability of keeping the ball in the ballpark. Your final thoughts there, Keith, when it comes to Atlanta? It's certainly you're not going to besmirch, but it's just a matter of ownership and salary and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they're right there with San Diego for me as 1A, 1B. They're fantastic. It's a lineup that's absolutely filled with power. Love the Olsen lefty call. He's one of the guys I tagged up in lineup HQ just because you get a slight discount there. People are still a little bit concerned about lefty matchups. Olsen's handled lefties perfectly fine throughout his entire career, around a 240 ISO against them since the beginning of last season. So still plenty of power against lefties also. Arcia in the 2-hole was awesome against lefties last year. You mentioned Ozuna. They're easily top 2 offense for me. Over the field.
A couple more likes, and we got TJ dropping his Spidey bomb. He's going to be joining the show as well momentarily. I just pulled up the tags. Let's see, Keith. You got Kikuchi, Fott, Trout, Olsen, and Kim. How about we haven't really talked about this? All day long, it's like San Diego chalk, and for good reason in Colorado, locked in for 9. But if you were considering fading San Diego, they're certainly weakened with Machado being out to some degree. And are people just going to they're not going to say, well, now I'm not playing San Diego now because Machado's out. I don't think they're doing that. Maybe a little bit less, but the fade's a little less, I don't want to say, it's a little bit less uncomfortable. I'm just trying to think maybe San Diego just fails, right? Maybe they don't get there. And more times than not, they put up 7 runs, maybe they hit 1 home run, whatever it is. Their team total is 5.5. They score 6 or 7 runs. They're over in the total. I'm just trying to think about a San Diego fade, and not a full fade because I know you guys are running out a ton of lineups, and you're going to have some, but just a fade below the field on San Diego, Keith. I'm thinking of doing that. And of course, if I like to focus on single entry stuff, and we know how the popular stuff is going to be way more popular in single entry. You got one shot at it, so you're going to get some really big ownership numbers on hitters. Hitters fail all the time. If a hitter's 30 or 40% owned in single entry, I just don't want them unless the rest of my lineup is goofy enough where I'm somewhat distinct and different. But yeah, San Diego fade. Has your thought changed, Keith, with Machado being out as the show's kind of progressed?
No, I'm still on them. I don't think Gomber's very good. I know the Colorado bullpen is not very good. It's Coors Field. We can argue it's not as impactful as it once was, but it's still a massive outfield that's very conducive to extra base hits, the home runs because of the altitude. I'm leaning into that and finding ways to get different, at pitcher. There's a couple of off-the-board pitchers that I like. I think Fott's ownership is a little bit too low. I think Quintana is going to be significantly off the board where I'm getting different enough at pitcher that I'm leaning into the chalk for bats. I'll be over on both San Diego and Atlanta. Anything
different to add there, Taylor, or basically the same thought process?
Yeah, I could see being kind of even with the field on most of them. Obviously, Tatis is the scariest one to fade, but there's really no one else that you feel like you're super nervous about. Kim and Campusano have decent power numbers. Eggy Rosario has hit for power against lefties pretty well in a tiny sample since last season, and he's cheap. Jackson Merrill, kind of some decent speed upside. It's still a pretty good lineup overall. The only issue is kind of the lack of power. Bogarts, Cronenworth, and Profar, not really big power sources right in the heart of the order there. But yeah, I will probably be about even with the field on San Diego. I don't think I'm going to take a stand super for or super against them tonight.
I saw in the chat they're asking about Profar getting pinch hit for. Just kind of deep thinking that, and I'm just trying to think of the bench for the Padres now that they have no Machado. That means they got to call somebody up, right? I think they got to go. Somebody's replacing him, I imagine, for paternity leave. I think that's how that works.
Yeah,
confirmed. I believe so.
I think so. I don't know who they called up, but yeah.
Wade's available, who's not really much of a hitter. Higashioka, the backup catcher. I think Pauly, the lefty Pauly, is available, but there's not a lot. There's not a ton of stuff on that bench. I'm just trying to think. Maybe there's one guy that gets called up for
Matthew Batten. Profar is a switch hitter also. I don't know if they'll he'd be the first guy to get the hook necessarily.
Yeah. I don't. They framed it like he's been pinch hit for this season, which I honestly have not been on top of. But yeah, generally speaking, it's not a guy that's a switch hitter unless they just think he's, maybe he's getting replaced for defensive purposes. I don't know how he is defensively. Yeah, Cronenworth left on left's not going to be terribly popular either. Although, like, first base is just like a general. What happened to good first baseman? Somewhere out there, like Prince Fielder is really sad, and Mo Vaughn is upset. They used to be really good. Remember? It's no
First
longer
and
a thing
third.
anymore.
First and third used to be stacked like 3 or 4 years ago, and now they're both kind of wastelandy tonight, especially with no Machado on the slate.
Yeah, it is. They're all in the outfield. They're like up the middle, I suppose. But it's not a wasteland. Is crunch time, and they're also not gutless. I can confirm that much for sure. At least, definitely not Dave Potts. TJ, maybe we'll discuss. We'll see. Will for sure, not gutless as well. Let's see. Let's check in on crunch time.
Chad is always asking me why I'm giving Dean a hard time, and this is why, because you do stupid stuff like this, Dean.
You drew first blood.
How?
I don't know. I just I just made it up. I figured I don't remember what is your origin story? I don't recall, but I'm not. You did it first to me. I was just throwing it against the wall and seeing if it sticks. But
Can we start on a positive note and say
Yes.
that if you just tuned in for the last few minutes, you heard a glorious new word that will be in the musing soon by Taylor, wastelandy. That needs to be used more often. I fully support the use of that term.
That is really strong. That you caught the best part of the show. We didn't top that.
I assume that was the highlight for sure.
Dave, you did make me laugh though reading the musings today. I felt like you weren't naming names or like pointing fingers, but you were talking about the Padres. That you've heard rumors, you've heard people speculate that you didn't use the word gutless, but you kind of like worked around it.
Well,
in a very clever
I mean,
way.
it's really not. It really was not aimed at Kirk. I love the gutless rankings. It's like, but it is like this. The whole industry wraps its arms around these weird, completely made up things. Like San Diego's not good. San Diego actually is good. They're maybe not as good as people thought they were going to be, which doesn't make them bad. Like we just see the weirdest biases that are not true. I don't, it's bizarre. And sometimes all you have to do is look at actual real life numbers, and they are what they are. San Diego's actually pretty good.
Life is about expectations, Dave, and people have expectations that are certain. Because nobody's calling.
The key is
Oakland
I have
gutless.
no expectations for anyone of anything, so I'm always pleased. That's the way to go about it.
Expect disappointment, and you will never be disappointed.
Well, there you go. That is actually the motto of Crunch Time. So it worked out perfectly. Myself and Keith and Taylor, we do appreciate you all listening. Stay tuned. You got Will, you got TJ, you got Spidey, you got Dave. You're looking for starting pitchers, good starting pitchers. It's gonna be wastelandy for sure. TJ, take it away.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Crunch Time, joined by two of the sharpest minds in the biz. First up, we got the best MLB baseball DFS player in the history of the sport, Dave Potts. How you doing, Cheese?
I don't think what you said can be called fact, but I appreciate your opinion. I'm doing great. How are you?
While it may not be factual for sure, 100% confirmed, it's an opinion that is difficult to be disputed. We'll say that.
Okay.
Joined as well by my guy. It's not even a weekend, and we still get to hang out. Chief, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing good. Can one of us finally take down this tournament we keep competing in? I don't know what's going on. I mean, we're just so close every single day. It feels like a really good slate. A really good slate. I see the chat is checking on me. If you didn't listen to the morning grind last night, which you didn't have to, we were right down to the end, and suddenly I caught a massive cramp in like my leg. And I have been working out, and I'm assuming that that was like contributed to that. I probably just been a little not sore, but I probably just been sitting a little bit too long at the computer. And we were right at the end for the morning grind game, and I said, "Excuse me, I have a cramp. I have to mute myself." Had to get that thing stretched out real good. And now that I'm looking around, I don't have my massage gun in my office. I usually keep it in the office, but it's not in here. But at any rate, got my water. Everybody asked, did I eat my bananas? I did eat my bananas. I'm good, full of potassium, feeling fantastic. And this should be an interesting slate. Somebody's got to win, so it might as well be one of us.
I was close. I thought I had a massage gun like right there that I could reach during that. It's over there somewhere. I would hand it to you if I could.
I appreciate it, Cheese. I really do.
I've got the foot massager under the desk where I write the musings, and after a couple hours of typing away, like have another cup of coffee, turn on the foot massager. That's pretty good stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So listen, I don't know if you guys can hear it. I'll turn it on, but I do have a massager on my desk chair.
Nice.
So I've got one of those. Like if I want to turn it on, and this one actually has heat, so I can turn the heat on. And sometimes, like if I'm just watching, well, you guys can't see the office, but my TV is. So these are like my screens that I'm using in front of me, like screens here. But my TV is to the left of me in this direction I'm looking at now. And so sometimes when I'm in the office and I've like done writing an article or something like that, man, I'll turn this heat on and get that massager going and lean back a little bit and watch a little bit of ESPN or some TV or something like that. And man, sometimes that's better than a recliner. But anyway, I'm ready to win some money today for sure.
Well, to help win some money, there's never been a better time to sign up for RotoGrinders Premium with NBA, PGA, NHL, MMA, and MLB. And we've got an option for whatever level you're looking to get into. Get yourself a 6-month combo premium subscription at an exclusive price of $469.99. That's a savings of $250 instead of buying 6 individual months of combo premium. You can also get your first month of RotoGrinders Premium for $40 off, limited time. Those that want to test run before buying can dip their toes in the water with our 3-day pass at $19.99. Check the links in our description for more info right down there. We have our first Spidey Bomb announced already. Eloy Jimenez, you can get him for plus 550, and we're only 8 likes away from Spidey Bomb number 2, so keep smashing that like button. We'll get our third Spidey Bomb at 150 likes. I see the people asking for him in chat. First one's Eloy Jimenez. And we will get more and more of them as we get more likes as well. Get your questions in. We got a longer show today, potentially, as long as we have enough questions. Lock is stretched all the way till 6:20 instead of that's the right time, right? 7:20? 7:20
Eastern Standard
7:20
Time.
Eastern instead of 05. And so we got about 15 extra minutes if the questions are coming. If they're not, we'll get out of here a little bit early. Cheese, why don't you give us a little bit of a breakdown of what we're looking at on this 7-game slate?
Yeah, so we've got extremely obvious hitting chalk and less obvious what's going to happen on the pitching side. It's usually the opposite. It's usually very easy to spot both the best pitching plays and the chalkiest pitching plays, whereas today it's not at all simple to spot the best pitching plays. You can kind of probably spot Dylan Cease as kind of chalky, but like it's more spread out. Whereas on the hitting side, it's all about San Diego and Atlanta. And because the pitching is kind of nonsense and we got cheap pitchers, like it's not hard at all to play San Diego and Atlanta. So I do think that's really the decision. Are you going to be full fading, which I'm definitely not doing that. I mean, if I had one lineup, I would be totally fine with saying you're not going to play any Padres or Braves and, just do something weird. But personally, I'm still, as I was this morning, way over on San Diego and Atlanta. But the pitching side where we'll start, I mean, it's pretty all over the place. And I don't think there's a clear best answer at all. What I would say is if I was certain that everyone would have the exact same ownership, I would lean to Dylan Cease as the guy. But given that I think he's probably like twice as owned as most people on DraftKings, like no, thank you. Like a guy with 10% walks in Coors Field, no,
I'm playing 150 and I hit the X button on him today.
That's not the kind of pitcher you want as chalk. So for me, I like Detmers, Kikuchi, and Brandon Pfaadt ahead of Cease. And none of them are like sneaky. I don't think anything's sneaky because it does get pretty spread out after Cease. But I do still think Kikuchi and Fott come in a little bit lower owned than they should be. So those are my two highest owned guys. And then I don't know what's going to happen with the ownership, and I don't particularly care with Albert Suarez at 4K on DraftKings. And I, like I said in the article like 5 times, I don't have any idea if he's even good. And I don't even care a little bit. I know that he's pitching and he's 4K, and all the guys who are like 7K are also not good. So give me a maybe good, maybe not good, probably something like average pitcher for 4K instead of a not good, maybe okay, mediocre pitcher for 7K. It's really just that simple. So personally, I'm not full fading Cease, but I can see the case for it, and I don't think he's great chalk. So Kikuchi, Fott, Detmers, Suarez, and then Cease is my 5th. That's kind of my main pool.
13 likes away from Spidey Bomb number 3. The second one today, Ketel Marte for Arizona. I like them as a full stack, and I also like Marte to knock one out of the park. So we got Eloy Jimenez, Ketel Marte, and then we got our next one coming in just over 10 likes. Like I mentioned, I'm going full fade of Dylan Cease today, and then I got 65% Suarez. It doesn't feel great on DraftKings, but I'm on the same boat as Cheese in terms of I want to just play the 4K guy who's okay as opposed to the 7K guys who are okay. Chief, what are you doing today at pitcher?
Well, let me just say the K of the bidet. I'm going to have to give it out right now because it's actually not on the slate. It's going to be starting soon. It's actually Ranger Suarez at 16.5 pitching outs. I like the over on that one. I think he's got a really good shot at going 6 innings yet again. Really nice strikeout stuff to begin the season, and seems to be a pitcher that's progressed fairly well. And so I'm hoping that he's not going to end I don't think he ends anywhere near a 30 to 40% K rate. But, I mean, if he ends around 25, which I think is pretty reasonable, and can continue to eat through innings, I think he'll end up by the time the All-Star game rolls around, he'll probably make the All-Star team and possibly have this team ready to go into the playoffs. So I know you didn't ask me about pitchers, but I want to give that out because I think that game is starting in about 10 minutes. So that was one of my favorite targets of the day from the prop scene. 16.5 pitching outs for Ranger Suarez, like the over on that one. In terms of pitching, I'm probably on the opposite side of you guys in terms of Cease today. In terms of ownership, I'm going to be well over the field, but it's not because of Dylan Cease. It's because the Colorado Rockies lineup stakes so much. There's just strikeouts galore right now, and I think what he's giving up in walks, I think he can overcome with the strikeouts. Can he make it 6 innings? I sure hope so. But that's really what it is. I think we got him projected for around 40. I've got around 62, 63% somewhere up in there. I'm going to skip down and just talk about Albert Suarez. Cheese, I know back in 2020 when everybody was following KBO, we did all these masterful write-ups. I am actually one of those people that still grinds KBO right now to this day, more so in the prop scene, so I don't have to wait up in the morning, to confirm lineups or anything like that. I do take a lot of pitcher props, and so Albert Suarez was there for 2 years. What I will tell you from just tracking him over the past couple seasons, I mean, he's got some strikeout ability. It will show up randomly game to game. Is a guy that's pretty much been fully stretched out for what feels like an eternity. He was a guy that would go anywhere from 100 to 112 pitches. I think one game I saw him go 121 pitches in KBO. Now the MLB isn't going to let him do that. My point is, if he's pitching well, he's got enough leash to go the distance. So once again, this is not me endorsing Albert Suarez in the major league, for Major League Baseball as some elite pitcher. This is me basically supporting everything Cheese said in his article, which is he's 4K, he's okay, and he probably scores equal or slightly under the 7K guys, which means he's just a better player at 4K. That's what I want to say about Suarez. My favorite pitcher on the slate, I'm taking Cease over because I like the strikeout upside because of the lineup he's facing. My favorite pitcher is actually Reed Detmers. I like him a ton. He's getting some ownership. I'm going to be well over the field on him as well. One of the things that I like about Detmers is I think everybody's afraid because of all this righty power, and I'm not saying those of us here, but Detmers has been fairly reverse splits. Even last season, he had a higher strikeout rate to righties than lefties. So I'm actually very encouraged that he's going to see all these righties today, or a fair amount of righties. That's not really going to affect him as much as at all. I don't think so. I mean, and maybe he gives up a home run. I don't care. I still think he's got just as much strikeout upside as anyone else. And so I'm also going to have a little bit of Cannon today. Full disclosure, I'm going to have massive amounts of the Minnesota Twins stats for what it's worth. And I am running 150 today. So let me clear that up. That way you get an idea of where my head's at. I am running 150. I've got about 15% Cannon, but that's really a just in case.
Did you say 15-1-5?
Yeah, yes, 1-5.
Okay, I thought you said 50 for a second.
No.
No,
Not at all.
That's
not
fair.
At all.
That's fair.
Yeah. 15% Cannon today. But once again, that's really more so Minnesota just decides to come out and can't hit a beach ball. He's 6K, with some skill. I mean, TBD in the MLB. But I've got a little bit of him in Kikuchi. So my pitcher pool is Cease, Detmers, Kikuchi, Cannon, Suarez. I basically X'd out everybody in the 7K range. Loaded up on Kikuchi, Detmers, Cease. I've got about 40% or more of all three of those guys. 15% Cannon, and I'm pushing 40% Suarez. That's my pitcher pool for tournament.
Well, you mentioned Cannon. Like, if we didn't have a 4K Suarez, I would be fairly in on Cannon, like probably 20%. Like, I still have a couple. Like, it's only because we have Suarez that he didn't make my list at all.
Yeah.
I hope you win with a Jonathan Cannon lineup. That's honestly what I'm most rooting for.
We are less than 10 likes away from Spidey Bomb number 3, so keep smashing that like button. Let's pivot to stacks. For me personally, obviously we got the top two, San Diego and Atlanta, by a fairly wide margin, but I have about 30% of my stacks in 150 are Atlanta. I'm heaviest on them by a fairly wide margin, and then because I'm full fading Dylan Cease, I also have a lot of Colorado. If I was playing a single entry team today, I think the Rockies would likely be the stack that I would want to be rolling out there to get a little sneaky. While still staying near the top. Cheese, who do you like in terms of stacks?
I mean, I do like the very obvious Padres and Braves. Like, I think they're just light years ahead of the rest of the field. But I do like Minnesota. I'm with Chief on that. I like Arizona a little bit more as a mini stack, but I've got full stacks. I like Miami, again, a little bit more as a mini stack, but kind of like I said, if you read the musings, usually I've got a top tier and then a second tier and then kind of a leftover tier. Today, there was no leftover tier. It was like the Braves and the Padres and then like everything else. Like, there's not a single stack that's off the board for me today. And I didn't even get to 100. I think I probably have like 50 lineups. I have every single stack on the board because they really are pretty bunched after those top two.
All right. I like it. Chief, how about you?
I've loaded up on the obvious stats. I think I'm assuming my sneaky stats are going to be Minnesota, just based on our ownership projections and how much more I'm over I'm probably double the field, maybe even triple on most of the Minnesota guys. I think they're maybe a little bit too cheap for this spot today, possibly. So I think. I've got a fair amount of them, a fair amount of lefties, and they've got some good lefties that while they may strike out some, they've got some nice power, like Julian. So he's one that I'm fairly high over the field on. I'm also pretty high over the field on San Francisco. I just think there's a fair amount of righties in there, and I do understand that Jose Quintana, isn't really giving up home runs, but I think San Francisco's got a shot at a high BABIP game today, being able to put the ball in play. And obviously got a fair amount of Jorge Soler, who's got nice power. And
on that note, Chief, Spidey Bomb number 3, Jorge Soler. You can find him for plus 325. So we got Eloy Jimenez, Jorge Soler, and who was the second one again? Ketel Marte. Sorry to cut you off, but you brought up Soler, and we just hit 150 likes as you mentioned his name, and so it was perfect. I had to say it. Jorge Soler, Spuddy Bomb 3.
Yeah,
I just want to say, someone in Discord just said the young guy in the middle has a very expressive face, so I guess that means I'm in the middle. I did not know that. Good to know.
There it is. There it is. But yeah, so I've got some San Francisco, and I know we're talking about stacks. I guess we're not really talking about one-off. I've probably got more one-off exposure to Kansas City than any other team. I basically just split Witt, Perez, Garcia, and Hunter Renfroe, and so I'm well over the field on them as well. But more so one-offs. I didn't really. I think I ended up with a couple with maybe those 4 bats stacked. But generally speaking, I pretty much won off them a ton. So my stacks, in terms of the top, I'm pretty equal on Atlanta and San Diego. Although I think I have a little bit more Atlanta than San Diego, like in terms of ownership. It's a fraction. Next, it would be Minnesota for me. They're my next stack down in terms of ownership. Then San Francisco, then Arizona. And then I've got a fair amount of one-offs from just, random spots like Mike Trout and stuff like that. Like you can't fade Mike Trout today against Suarez, even though you're playing a bunch of Suarez. I mean, Mike Trout could easily, be a slate breaker.
I debated making a rule, which is just not the type of thing you do in baseball, really. But I would do this in basketball all the time. But I was debating making a rule playing Suarez or Mike Trout in every single lineup that I played today in 150 lineups, but didn't pull the trigger just because wonky things can happen in baseball, and that's nowhere near.
Can I mention one thing too before we start? And I think Dave will probably agree with this. Is that okay, TJ? We have time.
Oh, we got lots of time. Take whatever you want.
Okay, I will say so. Like for me today, I'm legitimately I've already built 150 lineups after we got San Francisco in. My lineups are built. But I will say, like, if you're not building 150 and you're kind of in, maybe building 3 to 5 or something like that, like, I would really encourage you to get super unobvious in one of those builds, even if you want to take Braves, Padres, like maybe leave a fair amount of money on the table, do something different. You can very well take down a GPP leaving money on the table. Like, don't think you can't. And maybe in another one, I would probably fade the Padres and the Braves. Like if you're building 5 hand-built teams or something like that. I'm not saying, obviously if you're in the higher stakes, like you may not want to go quite that aggressively, but like let's say you're building the $15, $5, something like that. I would probably take one really unobvious Padres, Braves build, one probably completely fade, and then the rest just build kind of however you want. But because it's going to be hard-pressed to get really different with those lineups today, because I think, and I could be wrong, but it feels like people are going to play either Cease, Detmers, or C Suarez. And if they play C Suarez or Detmer Suarez, they're pretty much committing to all the good bats from Atlanta and San Diego. Like that's the build. So just wanted to put that out there before we got deep in the weeds.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's dive into position by position here. If you have any QQs, get them in. You can get them in now, and I'll still answer them after we go position by position. First, we'll go to the RotoGrinders Discord live stream chat. Second, we'll go to the YouTube chat, and of course, keep smashing that like button to get some more home run plays. Next one is 20 likes away. Start us off with the catcher position today. Cheese, who do you like?
I wouldn't say I like anyone. Obviously, if you were playing cash, you would play Campusano here. Kind of no real question about that. But if you're looking for a one-off, I do like spending up and playing like a Sal Perez, Wilson Contreras, Jeffers. I like playing Travis d'Arnaud outside of Brave stacks. We certainly in Brave stacks too, but I would rather play d'Arnaud on his own rather than Campusano on his own. But like the cheap guys are not good, so that those are just the punts are only in stacks. Otherwise, but if you're spending up for a one-off, I would rather not do Campusano.
This kind of fits in line with what you were saying today in the musings, Cheese, as well as what you were just breaking down, Chief, in terms of if you're hand building, play d'Arnaud as your catcher and then run a San Diego stack. San Diego's cheap enough today that without Machado, that you don't really have to worry too much about salary, especially if you're playing Suarez. So instead of playing Camposano in your San Diego stack, play Darno and then run a 5-man San Diego. And that's a way of getting very different from the field. Chief, who do you like today, catcher?
A lot of the same guys. I do have Moreno because I'm running some Arizona stacks, and I do have Tom Murphy because I'm running San Francisco stacks. But everybody else, Chief mentioned, so no need for me to hop on a broken record there.
Take me over to first base, Chief. I am all over one play in particular, and then outside of that, it's pretty even across the board. But I got 30% Matt Olson.
Yeah, I don't think it's weird, but I don't think Olson's going to get. I mean, we've got him projected at 10 on a 7-game slate. Part of that's probably salary. The other half is probably lefty. And I'm just here to tell you, folks, that means nothing. He's still got massive power against left-handed pitching. So at 5,900, I've got plenty of Matt Olson. If you want to get different, I've got tons of Alex Kirilloff as well, leading off against Cannon. I think I've got about 15% Flores batting second today against Quintana. And then Gavin Sheets is kind of my cheap one-off. I think he might be the only White Sox I'm playing today. But, I mean, just showing really good power against a low strikeout. Chris Paddock today at 3,200, I couldn't resist. So he's like a one-off play for me, but I did want to highlight him. And you can get him in the outfield as well. But still, Gavin Sheets, I think, is a really nice one-off play for a very, meager price tag of 3,200.
Yep, I couldn't agree more on that one. I do have a little bit of Sheets in my lineup. It's not a lot, but just a little bit. Cheese, who do you like today first?
Yeah, I just kind of went and looked while Chief was talking. And as it turns out, I thought this would be the case. Gavin Sheets is my highest owned first baseman. Keeping in mind that it's essentially 15% of a bunch of guys. This is the dead spot on the slate, as usual this season. First base is just weirdly nonsense. And because Olson's in the lefty, which you guys say, he doesn't care that it's lefty. And I don't know who needs to hear this, but Ryan Weathers is not going to throw a complete game. There'll be a righty anyway. Olson's a great spend up. But these guys like Vlad, Alonso, Pasquantino, it's Christian Walker, it's just not the right spot to spend up for them. They're fine. They should be in the pool if you're MMEing. But if I'm not getting up to Olsen, I'd rather just save money here. So yeah, Sheets, I got some Miguel Sano, Kirilloff, Flores. Yeah, same kind of idea there.
Take me over to second.
I like to tell Marte definitely over Bogarts as a one-off. I guess I think Julian will be more popular than we're showing. We're showing Schneider and Julian at the same ownership. I think Julian is more like twice of Schneider, but they're both reasonable, cheap-ish kind of plays. Kevin Biggio, cheap if you need him. There aren't that many options just at all. It's kind of when you go scroll down to the bottom, it looks like catcher. It's just these guys that why are these guys in Major League Baseball games tonight? Danny Mendick, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, David Fletcher, Kevin Newman, Nicky Lopez is leading off. What is happening? Essentially Bogarts, Marte, and then Schneider, Julian, Biggio. That's my pool.
Chief, how about you?
Don't worry. I knew I was muted. I was unmuting myself to make sure that I didn't have the ultimate mute going. But at second tonight, I've got a pretty tight pool there. Got a fair amount of Julian. I am running some Donovan against 5 just because leadoff 4K. Shouldn't see much ownership. Got a little bit of pop. Got some Fletcher, Estrada. And then I've got, I'm pretty loaded up on Xander Bogaerts today. And let me check my official ownership just so you guys can kind of get an idea of where I am. I am sitting at 26-ish% Xander. We've got him projected for 16, so that's where I am with him. And then, of course, I've got Ketel Marte, but that's the majority of my pool.
Chief, take me over to third base. I have a ton of Austin Riley, Ryan McMahon, and Igor Rosario, and then not a whole lot of anybody else.
Yeah, third base is interesting because you kind of got Austin Riley at the top, and I think I've got so much Austin Riley today. Austin Riley is close to one of my highest owned bats, believe it or not. And I think that's totally warranted because of the weakness of the position. I think sneakily I've got Miguel Garcia as a one-off here against Kikuchi. He's probably one of my most interesting rosters at third. Of course, I'm playing Chapman against Quintana, playing some Miranda and Willie Castro, both at third, just to get a little bit of diversity there.
Cheese, how about you?
Yeah, it's a bummer for a lot of reasons to lose Machado, but mostly because now Riley is the chalk. Riley would have been kind of sneaky before. I think outside of Tatis, he'll be the highest owned player on the slate now.
Yeah,
because he's just all by himself there, and you've got the money. So I certainly have plenty of him, but I like the mid-tier better here than first base. Matt Chapman being my favorite. Garcia is fine as well. I got a little Ryan McMahon, even a little Jordan Westberg against Detmers. The cheap stuff is fine. Igor Rosario, certainly. I don't know what they're going to do now with Machado out pinch hitting wise. I still think he's a pinch hit risk, but I'm not sure that I really care at that price. So I'm fine with him. But yeah, Riley's the play, and he's chalk, but that's for an obvious reason.
Let's go over to shortstop. Not as strong as today as we are used to seeing it. Personally, I have 65% of my ownership going towards Arcia and Kim.
Yeah, it is harder to get to Bobby Witt against a good pitcher, but anytime someone like Bobby Witt is going to come in under owned, that's when you want to play Bobby Witt. And I have Bobby Witt in Yusei Kikuchi lineups. But like Kim is the very obvious play. If you're cash gaming it, you're going to play Kim. If you're brave stacking it, you're going to play Arcia. And both those guys are also in my pool as one-offs. Like Kim's got some power and some speed. I don't mind him on his own. I think Gunnar Henderson goes even more overlooked than Witt because it's a lefty-lefty. And he's just in that I'm going to play him every day no matter what category. I like Willie Castro as a cheap guy if you need it.
Yeah.
And that is about it.
Chief, how about you? Who you liking? And clearly Willie Castro, one of those guys.
Yeah, for sure. Willie Castro, got him at 2,900. Think he's a good roster for the price. Once again, I'm playing a fair amount of Minnesota stacks anyway. As primary and secondary. I don't know if I mentioned that, just to clear that up. I've got 5 mans of them, 4 mans and 3 mans. So just so you guys get an idea, I do really like their pricing today. And I think, their opportunity, if they can get rolling at the plate. I talked about the fact that I'm using a lot of these Kansas City guys as one-offs. Obviously, Bobby Witt's one of those guys. Hassan Kim, super obvious. Orlando Arcia, really weird ownership on him today, in my opinion. Cheese, if I do want to get you got both of you guys, your kind of opinion on that. I thought Arcia would come in at much higher ownership today. Last I checked, we've got him projected around 10. It was 9.4, but that felt a little low to me. In this spot, considering they're going to be one of the highest owned stacks, I thought it'd be closer to maybe 15-ish, but I guess Hassan Kim and maybe Bobby Witt are taking some of that ownership, but that just felt a little light. Do you guys, and it doesn't have to be, accurate. Obviously, he hits a home run, we're celebrating. He doesn't, it doesn't matter, but how do you guys feel about this Arcia ownership?
I think in large field stuff, it's correct. I think he'll mostly be just in brave stacks. In smaller field stuff, I think guys like Henderson and Lindor and get like essentially 0, and Arcia comes up.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense too. I'm definitely going to be heavily overweight on that number regardless. 15 likes away from Spidey Bomb number 4. Keep smashing the like button. Chief, take us to the outfield.
Yeah, outfield. I am gonna give you guys a little bit of Chiefs secret sauce here, and it's not really secret sauce at all. It's just something interesting. Sometimes on these types of slates, I try to build something and see if I like it. And so I'm telling you right now, I've built a lineup with Ozuna, Trout, and Tatis. All three of them in the outfield, and that's probably going to be fairly different. I just don't think people are just going to load up all the 6K guys. And I could be wrong here, but it was a decision I made. I was building. I said, man, so that's one lineup, obviously. But I did want to mention that, like, you can get away with that today. You will not have tons of money left over, but like it's very possible you could build with those three if you're building your lineup the right way and still get, one of Cease or Kikuchi or Detmers in there. All right, into the outfield. Obviously, you guys know I like Acuna, I like Trout, I like Tatis. Those are the obvious plays. In terms of these guys at the bottom here, I do have some Jesus Sanchez. I do have, the Minnesota guys, Larnach and Kepler and, those type guys. I think for the low, I think those guys are very, very cheap, including Adam Duvall, who, I was shocked he didn't get as much ownership, but was showing flashed about 5%. I thought that was a little light for him as well. But I have him. Obviously, you can play Gavin Sheets in the outfield. Once again, just want to mention I am playing Kansas City as one-off. So Hunter Renfroe is a guy that I got over the field on touch today. Jazz Chisholm, obviously, is a guy I got over the field on today. Corbin Carroll is a guy I got over the field on today. And then Jorge Soler is another guy that I got fairly over the field on today. But everybody else is just kind of mixed into – and Velasquez, one of those Kansas City one-offs, got a little bit over the field on him as well. Everybody else is kind of mixed into my stats.
Cheese, outfield.
Yeah, another place I think our ownership is off is Ozuna being so far below Acuna. I think most people are on board with noticing that Ozuna has simply been better than Ronald Acuna this year. Not that he's going to continue to be better than, but like I don't think Acuna is actually chalk. I think Tatis takes most of Acuna's ownership, and Ozuna gets way more than what we're showing. I would just say that. I also like the three big outfielder build, and I include like Jazz Chisholm and Corbin Carroll in that big outfield build. The cheaper stuff is very interesting too. You mentioned Duvall, guys like Dalton Varsho and Sheets and Eloy Jimenez, Jesus Sanchez, Trevor Larnach. So more of my lineups have two expensive guys and one of those cheap guys, just because there's so many good cheap plays. But there are so many ways if you're playing Suarez to get three big outfielders, and that is also my favorite build.
Mine as well. Tatis, Acuna, and Ozuna, my three highest owned guys, followed by Carroll and Jock Peterson. So I'm doing a lot of the same stuff. I'm trying to get as much Mike Trout up there as well. Let's start taking some questions. Get them in the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat. Get them in the YouTube chat as well. I'm thinking likely we will get out of here a little bit early today. Still 25 minutes left until that first game locks. First question, Cheese, how absolutely crazy is Albert Suarez and Austin Gomber pairing for DK single entry?
I would personally say that is horrendous. I can't fathom playing Gomber in a single entry. You do what you got to do. Don't let me talk you off of what you want to do. But I don't know. He's not in my build at all, and he wouldn't be at 150. But if that's what you want to do, don't let me stop you.
Chief, what do you think of a Cardinals mini stack with Donovan and Nootbaar?
Oh yeah, I don't mind that. That's I've got Donovan and Nootbaar, I think, sprinkled into some one-off scenarios, so no problem there.
Quite literally the only two Cardinals today I was considering having in my lineup, so I don't mind that either. FanDuel third base for cash, Cheese, Riley or Kim?
Well, that's interesting because Kim, I would be playing somewhere else. I guess if you're not, I guess I lean Kim in cash.
What do you think of a White Sox? Chief, what do you think of a White Sox sack with using cheapies so they can get Witt, Acuna, and Alonso?
I don't really like the White Sox today, but I get it facing Patty. Cheese, were you done with your?
Yeah,
analysis?
I was just as I was saying that, then I saw somebody else say I have 4 Padres already, and I was like thinking it was the same question, and it just threw me off. I'm all good. Kim.
Gotcha. I'm not thrilled about the White Sox as a stack, but I'm not thrilled about them as a stack today. I'm only playing Gavin Sheets and maybe Eloy. But yeah, I prefer Minnesota if I was going cheap for what it's worth.
No Machado today, in case anybody missed it. He had a kid, so he's not there for today's game.
Is he up at your place? You guys fathering together now? Yeah.
Everybody, and Bryce Harper as well. For
It's a
me,
place to
Bryce
be.
Harper, and
there's a
Manny
lot
Machado.
of people paternity leave all of a sudden, and good players too. They should plan more carefully.
Always start to spread across different teams. So like if they're all on one team, that's when you have to start being concerned about some shenanigans. But I don't think you have to worry about Chiefs laugh got me there. I don't think you really need to worry about playing this guy anyways, but I haven't looked into this. Cheese, is Elder not in the FanDuel pool?
Oh, I have no idea because I didn't consider him for a second. I guess I can't answer that. I'm not logged in right now.
DKGPP, Cheese, you getting any Brady Singer?
No. I don't think he's horrendous if you're doing a bunch of lineups, but no, he did not make my pool of about 50.
I went full fade as well. Not that you need my input, but I hit the X button.
Chief, what about a Met stack today for you?
Oh, I'm not thrilled about the Mets as a stack. Just one off for me. Yeah, I'm not thrilled about it.
Cheese, you getting any Lance Lynn tonight?
Nope, also 0.
Thoughts on Albert Suarez? We all love Albert Suarez. I'm getting his 65% of him. I think Chief said he has about 40%.
41 officially, by the way.
41.
Looking at it right now.
I'm in between those two numbers.
There you go. So between 40 and 60% Albert Suarez tonight, it seems about like what you want. Chief, what do you think about FanDuel Cash pitcher today?
Oh, I mean, for me, I think it would be Cease, Detmers, or Kikuchi. I don't think I'd go outside of. I don't think I'd play Suarez for cash on FanDuel for what it's worth.
Yeah, I think Fott is viable if you really want that extra salary.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't say that you need it.
Chief, I'll stick this one with you because I know you like the Giants today. What do you think about noted lefty masher Wilmer Flores?
Yeah, well, Wilmer Flores definitely makes the pool for me today. No qualms with that at all.
Is that a noted lefty masher or confirmed?
Just noted. Just noted. We're not talking Jorge Soler. We're just talking about a noted lefty masher. Cheese, I think I know the answer, but I'll throw it to you anyways. Jock or Gurriel in your Arizona stack?
Jock.
Yeah. Somebody's getting a phone call, I think seems there. FanDuel single entry, Fott or Suarez, Chief?
I think I'm going Fott there because despite the fact that he's gotten lit up a little bit, like I trust him in the majors right now a little bit more than Suarez. I think he's got the leash. If he doesn't get banged around, he's probably going 6 innings. So I'd go Fott.
And then, Chief, they want to ask you this one as well. Which game will have no home runs tonight?
I would say all of them.
That might be close. If I had to guess which game wasn't going to have any home runs, honestly, it may in fact be the Blue Jays Royals game.
Yeah, I would say maybe Mets and San Fran would be my most likely one.
Nah, I think Soler is going to take Quintana deep today. I don't think Quintana gets out of this one clean.
What do you think about Chanul and Sano in an Angels mini stack, Cheese?
I am okay with you don't really need the salary that much. I mean, but if you do, I like saving salary at corner. So it's viable. Like if you got to go cheap somewhere, do it at first and third.
This is supposed to be said in a Roth voice, so I got to do my best. Trout or Acuna, straight up.
Is that for me?
The
Or
Chief.
is that for
Yeah,
Chief?
the Chief.
You both.
Man, give me. God, they're almost the same player in my mind. Give me Acuna because of the stack upside. He's got a higher likelihood of people driving him home if he gets on base. Give me Acuna.
Cheese, what do you think about Thairo Estrada today at second base? I know Chief likes him.
I don't like him outside of giant stacks, really. But I definitely like him in giant stack, even Giants mini stacks.
Okay to play Colorado righties and a DraftKings single entry. I think, yes, it's absolutely okay, but I would want to be including the lefties in that stack still. McMahon, Jones, maybe Blackman third are probably my priorities, but if I'm stacking, definitely no problem getting those righties in there. I have a lot of Colorado today. Cheese, I think we got somebody tuning in late from We Major. Top starting pitcher options for FanDuel tournaments and your top stack. So just a quick, if you're playing like a 1, 2, 3, top tournaments and top stacks for Cheese.
Our names sound very similar.
I know it's too.
Yeah.
I know. I should say Will. I should say Will and Dave because Cheese
Yeah.
and Chief.
No,
is
you
too
can
similar.
do or Dave and Chief or Will and Cheese, but not Cheese and Chief.
So now I've totally forgotten what the question was.
So we got somebody tuning in a little late. So just quick rundown, like top 3 stacks for tournaments on FanDuel and top 3 pitchers for tournaments on FanDuel.
Yeah, pitchers. Cease, Kikuchi, Detmers, or Fott if you need to save money on FanDuel. Stacks, the very obvious Padres and Braves, and I'm good being over the field on the chalk. Third for me would be Arizona.
Someone's asking about the extreme hitters and pitchers umpires. We got a extreme pitchers umpire in Coors, and we got a extreme pitchers umpire in for Minnesota and Chicago. So those are the 2 extremes for tonight. There's no extreme hitter umpires. Estrada or Julian in a set for second base in a tournament, Chief. 2 of your favorites.
Julian, hands down, Julian, no doubt.
Cheese, favorite 3K and below outfielder on DraftKings.
Probably Jesus Sanchez.
On FanDuel, Chief, Olsen and Campusano or Darno and Kim?
I'm going to go Darno. Win a tournament?
It doesn't say, but I'd assume so, yes.
Darno and Kim is probably the right answer, but I think Olsen, this lefty-lefty situation is way better than people think. Give me the Olsen combination for tournaments. I think it's way lower owned.
FanDuel Cash Cheese, are you going with Yahoo Cash Cheese all the way from South Carolina, our guy Daryl George? They're the same price, both $21. Would you go Kim or Bobby Witt in cash?
Kim.
All right. What else do we got here? What do you think about a Baltimore stack in tournaments, Chief?
I'm actually full fade on Baltimore today because I actually like Detmers. I think a little bit more in the field. If you think he gets lit up, like I'm not. If you like it, fine. But I'm on full fade Baltimore, but that's because I have so much Detmers.
Cheese, what do you think about O'Hoppe today?
He's right in that mix of non-Braves and Padres catchers. Like I slightly prefer Sal Perez and Wilson Contreras, but just slightly. Those are all very similar plays that can hit a home run.
For Will, on DK Cash, he's got 4 Padres already. Would you go Cronenworth or Kirilloff?
Kirilloff.
Cheese, Olsen, and that's the one we just had, the Olsen Campusano or Kim Darno one, but I guess Cheese, this one was directed to you specifically. So which side do you like better for that one?
Olsen Campusano in a tournament.
QQ, why not, Cheese? This for you as well. Why not the Gomber Suarez pairing if it gets you every great bat on a bad pitching slate?
Because Suarez Fott gets you every great bat on a bad pitching slate.
Thoughts on Suarez in FanDuel single entry / GPPs, Chief?
I'm gonna go with no, unless you're going mass multi-entry.
He says
I don't think I do it unless you.
It's a single entry, but it gets him Braves and Padres 4x4 stack.
I still don't like it. I think you can get. I think you can get the same upside even going up to one of the other pitchers, but that's me.
FanDuel tournaments, Cheese. It's a Spidey Bomb versus a Dean's Dong, Soler or Jazz Chisholm. Who do you like better, TJ or Dean?
Can I split the difference? I love both those players. I really do, but I like Jazz a little better.
DKGPP, haven't heard much about Angel stacks with everybody on Suarez. What do you think of an Angel stack, Chief?
Don't hate it. I do have some Angels, more so one-offs than many stacks, but I totally get it against an older, aging Albert Suarez coming over from the Samsung Lions of the KBO.
Cheese, MT Red Sox has narrowed it down to 2 stacks for their DK single entry GPP. Would you rather the Royals or the Rockies?
Those are both very interesting single entry stacks because they're like right in that tangle after the top 2. I think I would lean to the Rockies side as a full stack.
I like that as well, just because you get that extra bit of Cheese's favorite term in DFS, leverage on Dylan Cease today. What do we got here? Sneaky plan A day. Thought and a St. Louis whole team. Okay, I don't know what that says. I'm sorry. Favorite pitchers to stack on the Samsung Lions tonight, Will?
Samsung Lions. Tell that person needs to get back to me.
It's Dean.
Later this evening.
It's Dean.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm like, I don't usually hop into KBO until about 9 p.m. Eastern, so I can let you know, Dean, much later tonight.
Do you think Cronenworth will be contrarian on FanDuel second base today, Cheese?
I do. Yeah, like he's not going to be one of the first 4 or 5 Padres in, so I think that makes him a good play.
Cheese, who do you think is the biggest pinch hit risk for the Padres today, Rosario or Azakar?
Azakar 1, Rosario 2, but I think they're both pinch hit risks.
Missed the top of the show. Cheese, who would be your starting pitcher cash pairing on DraftKings? Cease Suarez or Cease Detmers?
Cease Suarez.
That seems like that is it for all the questions. So if you got any more questions, get them in quick. I'll stall for a little longer, give you a couple minutes to get them in, and then we will still maybe get out of here a couple minutes early. Favorite outfielder, 5,000 or below on DraftKings, Chief?
I'm gonna go in the Coors game. Give me Profar, just because he's better than the other guys. In the Braves game, give me Duvall because he's cheap. And
I think that they need a last piece 5K or under, so they probably won't go all the way down to Duvall Profar.
Okay, and then outside of that, I really like Jorge Soler today for what it's worth.
Yeah,
he's kind of one of my favorite guys.
That's what I was trying to push you to. Was our guy Jorge Soler today? What do you think about Rutschman in a GPP, Cheese?
Yeah, he is my favorite Orioles bat. Like it's not at all a priority spend. But if I'm playing one Oriole, that's who it is.
Chief, sausage or pepperoni on pizza?
Look, I think the correct answer is both. If I had to choose one, it's sausage for me.
Cheese, what do you think of a Met stack in a GPP?
I think they're dead last for me. But again, with the caveat that after the Braves and Padres, it's a pretty close to a 12-way tie. So they are last, but I have them.
No love for Earth Day from Hoosiers Hang Banners. Yeah, happy Earth Day. We love the
Is
Earth.
that going on right now?
Today is actually Earth Day, April 22nd.
I will send a card right after this. and it'll
Yeah,
get there.
we'll write it to the earth, and that's a good thing about the earth being everywhere is it doesn't take overly long in transit.
It's hard to lose the mail to earth.
FanDuel doesn't say GPP or cash, but what do you think, Profar or Rosario, Will?
Give me Profar.
Quintana viable in a DK GPP Cheese. I know Keith liked him today.
I mean, viable, sure. Like, essentially, any of those like 7K-ish guys are viable. I have 0. Like, I just don't need it, and I like Suarez as much, and then I just have the money. But viable, sure, yeah.
Will, do you have any props that stand out for you in the Knicks game tonight? Anything other than Brunson points?
No, I didn't really. I'm borderline out of NBA, but the props that I played, one was in the Cleveland game. It was Mobley over 14.5 points. And then the other 2 were in the Lakers game. I took AD over points, rebounds, assists, and D'Angelo Russell more than I think 60.5 real points. So, yeah, I didn't really get anything from that game.
Cheese, favorite pitcher for a single entry? Dave.
I'm going to say, which site did it say?
FanDuel.
Brandon Fott.
All right, that'll do it for questions. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in today. Still a few more minutes left until lock, but that seems like that'll about do it for today. A couple others just trickling in here. Utility spot, FanDuel cash, 3,600 left. Perez, Walker, Carroll, or Alonso. I believe that would be Corbin Carroll is the answer for that one. Correct me if I'm wrong, Cheese, but that's what we'll go with for now. Marte or Bogarts on DK, Cheese.
I like Marte if it's not a Padres stack.
All right, that'll do it for the questions. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. Good luck tonight. On behalf of myself, Keith, Keys, Will, and Dave, and Steve behind the scenes, thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. You have been crunched.